Welcome back to another episode of Speedruns From the Crypt. It is your bi-weekly horror hotfix. Once again, I'm your host, Dictis, and we have plenty of fun games for you tonight. Before we kind of get into all we'll be doing, first, I do want to say that in honor of Hispanic and Latin American Heritage Month, GDQ Hotfix will be hosting a variety of Latin American and Hispanic speedrunners. So you can tune in this weekend for a special Latin American speedrunning event from September 16th and the 17th. Starting around 1 p.m. EST. It should be pretty fun. That being said, going into tonight's show, there's been many horror themes over time, and some of the ones we've done on the show has been quite abstract. And it's kind of funny when you do something like this long enough, you never really go to some of the, I guess, big things you expect. And while we do have a fun variety of games here, one of the oldest horror themes is quite literally just vampires. It's vampires. It's classic horror trope there. So tonight's show is just kind of designed around games revolving around vampires. Anyway, to start things off, we're probably going to have one of the more notable games involving vampires. We're going to be having Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines with Etc. Take it away.
Yo, thank you so much. Yes, Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. We get some good vampire horror. It's going to be good. We should jump straight into it. I'll explain one of the meta techs, as it were, and we shall get straight into the game. So to begin with, it's worth mentioning, we're going to be playing as 80% Nosferatu. So we are this hideous, deformed figure right here, hunching over, really playing up to the horror trope. Anyway, the trick is, with the character sheet, is you would just click on allocate all your stat points, you'd go back to clan, reselect Nosferatu, and you can keep allocating points like this and just, max things out that way. So you're sort of like God mode straight from the start. Anyway, I've got a save, so to save us all from watching that, we shall just load that instead. Bear with me 2 seconds. Okie dokie. Righty tighty. I shall count down from 3 and on go, so the time will start. So, 3, 2, 1, go. Okie dokie. Right. So, it starts out, we are a fledgling kindred, like we just get embraced, turn into a vampire. And we're going to wake up in our Santa Monica apartments, which is looking a bit like the kind of thing you'd see Adam Stanheight living in from Saw. It's not exactly the most eloquent of living. We skip the tutorial of Smiling Jack. We're just going to take $100 from our drawers, and we're going to go buy a lockpick. Now, the lockpick will help us sequence break quite a lot. With it being a source engine game, there's a lot of movement regarding like bunny hopping and air strafes, but also you get some interesting collision with things like the lockpick, so you can actually, sequence break things a little bit. Anyway, the whole thing is honestly just basically a glitch exhibition, because that little cutscene where we saw that dude like crawling into that room, we're supposed to be going to see him first. His name's Mercurio. He gives us our introduction sort of quest, but we're not going to be doing that. Okay.
Huh?
This looks good, I think. So, when we first enter Asylum, we're going to bring up the inventory to sort of like, so we can actually see, like cancel the fade in. But what that's going to do is let us run in fast enough so we can actually talk to that girl at the bar. And in this version of the game, there's like a scripted conversation with Jeanette, that Harley Quinn looking character. And it's going to, by us jumping on her head, it's going to move over to the elevator. And that's going to be useful because it's going to set up the big sequence break for Santa Monica. Now, this area is the Ocean Health Hotel. I keep calling it the Lakeside Hotel because I'm a fool. It's a bit of a tonal shift, to be quite honest, because the first, couple of hours of the game, you're still getting used to, how the game plays, what you're supposed to be doing, who all these characters are. And then you get this super, I guess, not so much jarring, but very unexpected, scripted, sequence through this hotel that is haunted by a victim. Well, haunted by a ghost who was murdered by, a presumed I think husband, because the lore behind it is a bit, not silly, but, you know, very cliche. Anyway, horror elements are here for sure. We've got this whole scripted sequence. We can't really get out of it any faster than this. This sucks. Dude. My way out was blocked. That's, thank you, Source. Very cool. Alright. I took a little more damage than I would actually liked it, but it's fine. We can always use a blood pack. You're not supposed to, you're not supposed to actually be able to open this door, but from the right angle, you can just like jar it open, but it saves a few seconds towards the end of this level. My hops are a little tragic, but it's not like the worst thing in the world. I put it down to the fact I've just woken up. I will use a blood pack here just to restore some health because you've got a very good chance of, well, you take some pretty big damage through there. That little hallway, if you're not like mindful of your HP, you can just die, which is, you know, sure, it's not long into the run, but it's just, you don't want to be dying needlessly if you can avoid it, especially if you haven't made any like quick saves or anything. Okay, so that was the Ocean House Hotel. And now we'll be seeing that what that setup was earlier with Jeanette, how it like factors in. Fun fact, you can actually maintain momentum with your hops and just like glide all the way through this little tunnel pipe, but the movement is pretty precise. Okay. It is unfortunate she did not run over there. Okay, this is fine. Because what we're going to do, if needs be, I do have a save, I can just load, which will push her in the way. Yep, we will do that actually. Elevator skip 1. So she should land around here, right? There's a lot of dialogue mashing in this, but this is fine. Also, if it's weirdly quiet for us being in a club, that is because I do actually have the music muted. It will get them VOD muted and everything, so it's just a protective kind of thing more than anything. But you would actually have what's the song called? Isolated by Chiasm? Might be butchering the pronunciation on that, and people are just like funking the entire time. Okay, that's what you would expect. You would have Jeanette arrive at the elevator, you'd rush through the dialogue with her, and then you would activate the elevator from the inside, which will trigger that dialogue that's happening in the top left corner that you can see through the subtitle, like between the muffled voices. All right. Do you not think it looks pretty goofy with people just like vibing, funking around with no music? Anyway, we jump through the ceiling because we're within Therese's not like hitbox, but like her range of like
Yes, I'll call it off
interaction,
once I've
I guess.
spoken with her myself. Just do what I ask.
All right.
away from the tree. I'll take care of everything, as always.
This is where the lockpick is going to help us a little bit, because as we leave this door, well, leave this elevator, we're going to drop the lockpick in between the shutters. That is not going to work. Okay, it's fine. I'm so glad I made safety saves. If you drop it too far out, it won't actually block the shutters and you'll just be greeted with sadness when you come back. This might be a little early, but we'll try it. So we're going to head over to the diner and placate some thugs. Now, there is a little trick here that you've got to be mindful of, which is if you don't kill these guys fast enough and you don't pick up the phone within the first ring, you get stuck with a little error message saying, oh, you can't interact with this because you're in combat. And that will cost like 15 seconds or something, which is such a stupid way to lose time, but right. Okay. So by placing that lockpick between those doors and then picking the lockpick up, but also like body blocking the shutters, the game logic is a little confused. Like, okay, well, I'm supposed to be open, so let's just like reopen the elevator. And what would happen is there's a flag that would be set as you do this game normally.
As soon as I don't listen to
she's
shut up,
ran
you
towards
never
me this
get-
time. This is gonna look
Isn't
goofy.
it? You're one to shut. You don't.
Anyway, there's a flag
Don't
that would
you
be
wanna
set from a
shut
previous
up?
quest that
Don't try
we
into you.
don't
I would
set
take him. Is that
because
not-
obviously we're sequence
She's a
breaking.
and you're a. I don't think trust
Anyway,
and
this
father
we've got
love.
like what
Father
40, 50
can't-
seconds of
don't listen to
dialogue here.
Therese.
Just
That's as I recall. Why?
it is just mashing
Therese,
dialogue. It's
Jeanette,
fine.
if you
It's
do
pretty important that you do enter the
more,
right
of course.
dialogue
But I
inputs though,
only do it,
because
and
you
you
can
do-
save one
if
to win
she-
over the
if she
other,
would-
which is a lot
Yes,
slower.
when I was a
Because
happier.
what happens when you save them both
I
is you
never-
get teleported
no,
outside
I'll
of
stop.
the
That's not-
nightclub.
We know.
Obviously a little faster than
it.
having
Bertram's
to
ho-
wander down through the
Please
elevator
don't-
yourself. Right. We will now be going to the Sabat warehouse. There's nothing too in-depth with it. It's just purely movement and execution with the Sabat warehouse, and you know it can be good, but it can also be an absolute disaster. But with Nosferatu, we've got a discipline called Obfuscate, which will turn us invisible, which should save us from making any major mistake, at least. Okay. So we're going to come up here. Wow. Okay. Jump and obfuscate. Let's see, do I have the hops? Do we have the moves?
Hey, you see something out there?
Not bad.
Out there in the train. I swear I saw something.
Jump on this environment. Now, one of the quests that we skipped would have netted us an item called the Astrolite, which is sort of like an armed explosive. Now, we didn't do that quest, but because we're in this area, the game's like, yeah, well, you're here, so you've got to have done it. It's another instance where, you know, the game's not so much scripted, but it's kind of like just the game doesn't know how to behave without, like, defined logic. Good old Beckett appears, and we're about done with Santa Monica, which is pretty decent.
Your ice, tell me, most of pleasure.
Okay. Right. Oh. So, as the Nosferatu, we're so hideous that we can't actually, you know, catch a taxi and jump between the different hubs. What we've got to do is travel through the sewers. So instead of, you know, getting a lift with our homie, we have to go through the squalor. Excuse me, sorry. Right, we've got like a 2-minute long cutscene, which is just basically dialogue mashing. So if there is any message or anything, or if like anything you'd want to say, then now is a perfect time for it.
Let's drain it. Let's take it.
No, you're all good. I guess what made you want to learn this game?
A lot of fun with this one.
What made you want to
You
run
could
this game?
blow up our warehouse and get away with it.
I casually played through the game to begin with, and I thought, you know what, it's fun, it's fine. And then I looked at the speedrun, it was like 27 minutes at a time for world record. Like, okay, there is some, there's got to be something at work here that I am just wildly unaware of, and it was the tech, which was definitely interesting. Like, there's one major sequence break that I really wanted to learn. So, like, you know, if I'm going to learn that, I may as well learn the rest of the run. Major sequence break that made me want to like properly learn it was Hollywood Skip, which we will get to.
Leave.
Also, force movement, bunny hopping, air strafing. It's always quite nice to watch it done right. I say right, done well, and occasionally I have runs where it's like, yeah, I'm feeling it.
Shoot us.
As well, I guess just a general question. I guess more in depth potentially here. Why Nosferatu and not any other characters?
Ooh, I like this question. So, Nosferatu are the best for a couple of reasons.
Moving.
So there's the discipline side of it, which is like their special ability. So Obfuscate turns you invisible, obviously useful for avoiding mobs. Potence gives you unmitigable,
Good effort.
this can be hard to say, unmitigatable damage. So
Execution
bosses
needs a
like
little work.
Ming Zhao, for
You look
example,
like shit.
will take increased damage from your melee
Should have
hits.
been more.
Animalism is good for DPS, but also Nosferatu have the male Nosferatu have quite a big character model. So actually building momentum with air strafing is pretty fast, but overall Nosferatu are just faster over other clans. Like you've got on the SRC leaderboards, we've got any percent for Premier and Nosferatu and Gangrel.
You showed up.
Now, the difference between them is some skips are doable or easier than others. So with Nosferatu and Gangrel, you can do all the attack. You can do Grout skip, you can do Hollywood skip. You can't do Grout skip as Tremere because one of your disciplines does not have a hitbox for us to jump on it, which would be a frame perfect trick we will get to. It's just, man, there's a few intricacies to really determine what makes Nosferatu the fastest clan for it. But honestly, those are secondary reasons. I just think Nosferatu is pretty neat.
Done well. You may. There have been the police. Now, you have. Do not. The last thing. Good.
They're the ugliest of the bunch.
Good. Good. There's a boat waiting for you on the beach in Santa Monica.
Okay, right. So that was Prince LaCroix. Now he's going to give us a bunch of fetch quests. We're going to go to... Well, we're going to go back to Santa Monica and go to the pier. I'm going to start the overarching narrative of the game, which is the Ankaran sarcophagus, which will house an antediluvian vampire, which is sort of a third-generation demigod, pretty much. Anyone that has the power of said antediluvian will rule over LA big time. Unfortunately, I'd say the main horror aspect of VTMB is pretty much already done with. Because the Ocean House Hotel is very much as spooky as the game gets, but it then also comes down to what makes this game good besides the run, which is casually, it's really, really engaging, very spooky in some of its undertones. And the writing and the characterization of how some people just are. Also, yeah, I've just remembered, I say remembered, there's someone in chat that just points out VTMB 2 recently got an announcement for a release date and playstyle and everything, and I am cautiously optimistic. I think that's the best attitude to have for it going forward. And hopefully we'll still get Nosferatu as a base clan and it isn't Day Zero DLC, but I won't say anything else on that. Alright. So fetch quest done. We're going to go and return to Prince LaCroix, and then we've got what is for me the run killer. We've got a tech called Bat Jump or Grout-Skip, however you'd like to refer to it, which is a frame perfect trick that will use one of our disciplines, specifically Bloodsucker's Communion, to elevate ourselves to a second floor, which will save us about 100 seconds, maybe the better part of 2 minutes, just running around Grout's mansion.
I've said all I need to for now.
How convenient. He says all that he needs to. We turn up. What is he cooking?
I'm losing.
Oh, another thing that's worth mentioning is a very small tech, which is, there's only 2 cutscenes where it works. You can bring up the inventory and close it, so you can actually regain control of your character during scripted cutscenes where you're not supposed to be able to interact. So this is one of them.
No. You should get...
Yeah, you're not supposed to be able to move during that. It looks so goofy, interacting with another character like that. Okay. Wish me luck, team. This is it. This is the hardest skip in the game, if you ask me. So we've got to lure this dude over to a bookcase, jump on his head, and then we'll cast Bloodsucker's communion on him. Okay. Could be good. Nope. Third try for sure. Man. I know a trick is a frame perfect one. Don't worry, the speedrun will be sure to mention it. It is tricky. Like, if you can get this, like, relative, well, I say relatively consistent, it honestly does just feel like luck. Big skill issue time. I would say this is probably, yeah, like I said, this is the run killer part of it for me. Oh man, this is brutal. This probably sounds awful on your end, like, it's just the discipline. Okay. We got this. Okay, we'll redo that setup. Maybe it's just not lined up decent, but
Hey, hold it!
I believe. Wowee. First try, watch this. Damn it. That might also be a bit too late of a setup. This is gnarly. Thing is, we've not even like started to get the jumps on. There we go. Okay. Christ. That might just about break even with the time it's supposed to save. That is without a doubt the worst. Well, I say the worst. It's one of the most interesting and most satisfying techs to pull off, but it is, as you can imagine, pretty brutal to land in a run. So if you get it like nice and early like you'd hope, it's worth going for, but otherwise, you know, it's a big old time sink. First try. Exactly.
There you are, move! Hey, stop right
At
there.
least this time I didn't undo like all my binds like I did at ESA.
Freeze!
Oh, there's a bit of a quirk with this door where you've got to be mid-air when you go through it, otherwise you get stuck in the floor. Don't ask why, I don't know, but it's one of the many quirks of this game. So we're going to pick up those blood bags from that fridge, which is going to be a part of our blood economy, which will help us with the final fight. We're just going to be spamming disciplines, which... Oh, I've not actually really explained this, I probably should. So on the left, we've got our health bar, and then on the right, we've got what is essentially our mana bar. Hope that helps. I'll give you a real-world example as well of why we typically try to lower the FPS to 60 for certain things like environmental reasons. So the Source engine, it doesn't like higher frame rates at all. Here's an example of opening a door on uncapped FPS. Pretty slow, right? Now, if we change it to 60 FPS, loads faster. The reason for that is unknown to me, but with high FPS, you can get stuck indoors and lose runs that way. It's very fun. It's not irritating at all to lose a run to something like that. Okay, well, we about broke even with like the time saved with that jump. So it's not the end of the world. This is still like a legitimately good time. Why is health blue in this? That is a fantastic question, especially considering with vampires. You'd expect both bars to be red, right? You know, blood and all that. Let him cook. Okay, so quick lore or explanation for why we're here. We're here to find the Malkavian Primogen Alistair Grout. And this is him. He's been staked and killed, so unlucky, I guess. And now we need to go tell LaCroix he's indeed dead. But now we've got to escape this burning mansion that that character that we just spoke to, the mad German. Fuck. He's a vampire hunter. He knows we exist. He's got this thing. Oh my. Dude, my movement is pretty rough, but it is what it is. Yeah, actual skill issue. Okay. Let's see. So, with the news that VTMB2 is actually coming out very well, soon relative to what we've had to wait.
Look at me.
I'm not sure how that will be as a speedrun. I mean, I personally believe that
there is a degree of immediacy.
If someone asks, you know, should you run VTMB? Yes, if you've played the game casually and you know you enjoy it enough that you want to actually try speedrun it. It's a better casual game than it is a speedrun, if you ask me. Okay, museum. So the only thing we've got to do here is collect the current sarcophagus, and we're going to learn. Oh no, it's not here. But we get pointed in the direction of someone who will know where it is. Okay. And then we've got, after this quest, the biggest sequence break that I think people that are familiar with this game will either appreciate or almost even feel like robbed by. Oh, I don't need obfuscate up anymore, but yellow. So we'll take that. And this little section is finished, which is nice. Oh, it's also worth mentioning that Bloodsoaker's Communion as a discipline, whilst it does have like a little hitbox in the bird. When you use it on a target, it will, if it's a normal human, it will typically kill them instantly. And it will send a bat towards you, which will also replenish your blood pool. So using that way you can to like try and keep blood economy up. Ooh, that's right, it's over here this time. Up is something that you've got to be mindful of throughout the run.
I want you.
Stolen.
They're not Hollywood's best. Fine.
Okay, so over to Hollywood. We've now got a very nice skip. Oof. Which will cut out the entirety of the Hollywood questline and the Nosferatu Warrens. But the setup is a little, not so much jank, it's just, it can be pretty troll. It relies on luring an NPC called Romero to a very remote location. So, we grab this barrel behind us, that is technically out of level. And we're going to bring this with us. Those familiar with Half-Life runs are going to be like, okay, I see where this is going already. Right. So we've got to lure Romero, and he can be a bit of an arsehole. Like, there's no other way of putting it. He is very troll when he wants to be. If you want a good run, then he'll kill your run. If you want a bad run, then he might just troll you anyway for the shiggles. So we're going to take this barrel. I'm going to lure... Oh, yeah. So he can use a knife or a shotgun. We want him to use a knife because he will actually chase after us. This was the original COD Zombies. I suppose it's worth mentioning there is actually like a small side quest you can do in this area where you fight off against like a horde of rising undead for 5 minutes. It's I want to say the first time I did it, I did beat it first try. Not to brag or anything, but kind of a big deal. Okay. Like I said, there's a lot of luring that you need to do with this guy for this skip. It is worth it though, like no matter how you spin it. He's pretty far back there.
Where you going, man?
Alright, come on. Man, he is trolling.
Hey, stop, man.
You can start to feed on him twice and throw him away, and that should cycle him back to his knife. Okay, come on, buddy. He's still running behind me, which is good. Okay, he's on shotgun now. So we're gonna put that barrel there. Oh, hey, buddy. That's actually pretty close to where I need you to be. There's a very specific lineup that we need because the angle on this is pretty important. Okay, come on, bud.
Come out.
He actually tried trolling me by turning away as well. So we use Spectral Wolf to force collision. Come on. Ah. And then we're going to use the barrel to sort of help us clip through the terrain. Oh, not like that though, because that's out of bounds. Okay, that's fine. This is why we have a save. And that's a pretty risky save too. There was a super low on blood there. Pretty awkward. You know in, is it Half-Life 2 where you have to like transport the gnome throughout the entire game? And you put him in like the rocket. Gnome Chomsky or whatever it was. That's the kind of thing we've got going on with this barrel. That really did not work, huh? There we go. So what this is going to do is force us into this crawl space, which will send us straight to the end of the Nosferatu warrens. And even like if we were to like do the warrens in Hollywood, like if we were speedrunning it, it would still take the better part of like, what, say 12 minutes?
You should.
Like at the top level, so it is a really considerable amount of time that we save.
Where? Oh, I know. The Quaid. Even you up for the goats out of course.
Right, on to the last part of the game. So that was good old gorgeous Gary Golden. He's going to send us to Chinatown. Originally, there would be a series of quests that we need to do there as well, but instead we've got another sequence break, which is thankfully nowhere near as awful to do as the previous two that we've shown. Nice, clean movement. Getting those hops... Oh, I say that and then I go and get stuck on a ledge like that. Getting the hops uphill is, it feels great to do, but... So the sequence break to Chinatown is very simple. There is a tree that does not have collision that you can stand on top of. It's supposed to, but in this patch, like the game in its rawest form just does not have that. And we can use that to climb onto the hut that Ming Zhao was on. Okie dokie. Chinatown has not aged very well though. I'm going to be real. We do explore all of Chinatown and all the side quests that are available here in 100% quest log, but it is definitely, to say a product of his time is probably maybe a little forgiving, but you know, I don't I'm going to be real. Like some of the voice acting is not lazy, like that's the wrong word, but it's it definitely plays up to like stereotypes. Anyway, so that was the sequence break. We jumped on the hut and then we jumped over that fence. We're now actually well inside the Chinatown barracks. Now this part of the game is very much like you're on the warpath towards the end of the game, which we shouldn't be really here yet. So that's why we can actually fight back against the equation. Righty-tighty. Move this out of the way. Source engine, by the way. This pad right in front of us, that's indicated by the glowing lights. If you don't make a quick save and quick load before it, you can't actually move out of the way and you have to take the long way around. Reasoning? I couldn't tell you, but that's just how it is. Okay. So we're going to say goodbye to our lockpick after all this time. Into the final area. Drop down here. And now we've got a puzzle which actually genuinely confused me. Because I'm a fool. So I think it fooled most people. We've got to collect these 4J statues, which will unlock the secret room that Ming Xiao is hiding in. And we've got to actually crouch bunny hop throughout this area because the roof is pretty low. And if we land on the traps, then those blades come out and they will instantly kill you, which we do not want. So movement in this section is pretty tight and really punishing if you don't get it right. You know, you hold to a very valid point about the lockpick weighing the same as a vampire. Oh man, that's unfortunate, but we did not die, and that's all that matters. We will obfuscate one more time. Ooh, this is... I don't think I can sneak past him. Okay, there we go. A few seconds wasted, but whatever. So, Jade Dragon in that one, Jade Cat here, Jade Elephant, and Jade Crane. And now the confrontation with Ming Xiao is going to get pretty loud for a moment because we're going to be spamming a lot of spells.
LaCroix. Yes.
LaCroix. LaCroix.
I hope you...
And all we're going to do is hit with Potent, which will definitely help us with our damage, and spam Burrowing Beetle. Try not to frenzy. Nice. Actually, really clean fight. She can troll pretty hard by like constantly staggering you and knocking you away and everything. Okay, so we're coming up to time. We're decently underestimate, but nothing egregious. Thankfully, I did give, 40 minutes or whatever it was.
Very well.
So it could actually allow for things to go wrong. Okay, and time.
Alright, GG.
So,
Not bad.
Ming Xiao is
53,
dead.
53
And soon
with
all
low
her
removal.
devils will share
That's
our
still
fate.
like third or
Los
fourth place
Angeles
or something
at
on the
last
leaderboards.
is
Like that was
mine.
legitimately still a good run. Just to quickly answer a quick question, chat. There was no HP bar there because when you load into a map with full frame rate, like unlocked frame rate, it like delays loading up the menu. That's all that is. It took me a while to actually learn that. Anyway, yes, that was any percent Nosferatu for Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. It's a very fun run, especially if you're not waking up at 3 in the morning to do it, and you don't wake up in a panic thinking, "Oh shit, I've missed my time slot." Yes, it's a better casual game though, so if you haven't played it, I highly recommend it. It's one of the most popular RPG games ever made. It's got some of the best writing ever, really, to be totally honest. Thank you to Ecdysis for having me on for his Hotfix show. It's been a pleasure. And yeah, I am ready to hand it back over to you guys.
Sounds good. Before you do go, though, one, do you have any shout-outs you want to give? And two, if anyone wanted to find you on Twitch or anywhere else, where can they find you?
Shout outs to everyone in chat, really. Y'all are goated. If people did want to watch me personally, then I can be found at twitch.tv/Vicetra. I do stream mostly speedruns of this game. I will be taking back record this year. Trust me, bro. I do speedrun of games like Devil May Cry 5 and Faith and things like that. But yes, if you are interested, that's where to find me. And that's everything.
All right. I do want to say thank you for doing the run there of Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. It's always fun to watch. I guess vampires just kind of zoom through LA.
It's interesting to see them. I've also just been attacked by not attacked by my cat. She just wants to be seen. She's a cutie. Yes. That's very much it.
It is adorable. Anyway, thank you once again. For everyone else here, we are going to be setting up for our next game of the night. We have 2 more for you of Vampire Fun. So don't go anywhere. We will be right back. Alrighty, everyone. Welcome back from the break. Hopefully you enjoyed that run of Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. It's really fun, just again, like I said, watching vampires kind of zoom around the city of LA. And the last game was a testament to vampires. I guess this game is kind of like a death threat to vampires, if that's a good way of putting it. I know it's a pretty popular show from the 90s. I don't know a whole lot about it. I kind of know it as a very old classic game. And I guess I'm going to give one very particular deep cut for anyone who is aware of 90s bands. My favorite Buffy the Vampire Slayer fact is that there's a band called Chibo Motto that has a hit song in there. So, yeah. Anyway, going on with that, we're going to be going to Buffy the Vampire Slayer with Texan Red Wolf. Take it away.
Hey there, y'all. Hi, I'm Texan, and this is the lesser counterpart to Buffy the Vampire Slayer on the Game Boy Advance. This game is self-titled. It's for the Game Boy Color, and we're gonna listen to a lot of MIDI music, and we're gonna have a great time. So, for whoever's on timer, the moment I'll count you down, but the moment that I hit enter on start on new game is when the timer starts, and then I'll just kind of explain the run from there, because there's a lot but not a lot to it. So 3, 2, 1, go. So if anyone saw the GBA run a few weeks back, this one I do know the story for. So basically there is a scientist that's like, hey, I wanna end the world. I'm gonna do that. And we're gonna do that with Satan. And that's the gist of the story. And we're gonna go through 8 levels, dealing with a variety of vampires and enemies. And you'll get to learn all the fun names I have for these guys. The current vampires that we're killing, I refer to them as the Marlon Brando vampires. I can't remember who said it in my chat once, but that's what they said these guys look like, so that's their names now. There's literally nothing about this game other than what I could find on the internet in a booklet. So enemies don't have names. They're all just kind of vampires of some sort. Their pixels make them look different. They do not function differently, though. So the point of the gist of this speedrun is roll, because rolling is faster. Whoops. Rolling is the fastest movement, and kill all enemies on the screen. The fastest way to kill them is by doing that grab and flip them in the air situation that I've been doing, or knocking them on their back with a low click kick and staking them. So you're just going to see a lot of that movement. There's also items. Depending on my rolling position will determine whether or not I'm going to pick one of those up. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. In level 1, it's not really like super necessary. And you'll also see Coke cans. We are going to use the power of Coca-Cola to one-shot bosses. And I'll explain that a little bit better in level 2 when that happens. You see, I grab that trash can. It knocks him down on it, but we're good to go. So yeah, it's really the gist of the game. I am not to. It's gonna feel weird like saying it because I try not to toot my own horn about stuff, but I am the world record holder for this run. And I've had the record for about the last 2 years. And basically, this run used to be around 28 minutes, and now it's around 24 minutes. And what I did was I really just kind of got used to like what needs to be done. So there's specific things that I'm doing, like, okay, I'm gonna come here, kick him, stab, grab this tire, throw it. And it's just trying to figure out like the best movement to be able to grab the enemy and throw them in such a manner. Coca-Cola. We're gonna stockpile Coke in this level for a reason. But you want to make sure that you're downing vampires in the position on the far side, whatever side of the screen you need to go to. So, for example, I don't want, I call these the warrior vampires. This is the new guy, but they definitely remind me of like the warriors from the, I think it's a movie or a game. Can't really remember it. I've never seen it. I just know the characters and like the, gosh, what is it? That quote was like, warriors come out to play. But yeah, so we want them to be close to here so that it's just a quick kill, stab, roll away. Because if I have to go over to the other side of the screen, away from the next frame, like essentially screen, it loses time. So that was step one, was figuring out, okay, what is the best way to efficiently handle vampires? And well, it's this flip, or hit and knock on their back. This is the best way to kill them. And then from there, it's okay. Well, no one knew what to do with the Coke cans, and I'll demonstrate here in a second since I've got enough, and I'll be a little bit for another one. But it's like a power up, and it's when you double tap and hit an attack button, it gives you like this little boost of like a slap. It's really cool because it instantaneously downs the vampire while he's being really finicky and does not want to be grabbed. It instantaneously downs any enemy that gets hit with it, and then that allows you to stake them immediately. All the enemies in this game go down with a stake. Sometimes this is also kind of RNG based as well, when it comes to whether or not these enemies are gonna want to, do anything nice like cooperate and let me grab them and throw them to the ground. Sometimes you'll see, like, I'll wait for them to get behind Buffy to be able to turn her around and then therefore be able to do this kick and stake like that. Okay, here's our boss. So the power of Coca-Cola comes very in handy when it comes to these bosses. So hopefully this works. Yeah, instantaneous down and you're done. And that's what we do. And so the second part to bringing the time down to where it currently is now is using those Coca-Cola cans in the appropriate sections, which is mainly just boss killing, or, I'll grab this can, do that, knock him down, and just keep going. It's basically the gist of the run, so. Other than that, I don't have too much to say. However, the sewer level, this one right here, does introduce a mechanic called jumping, and jumping in this game is not fun. So here, okay. So you need to hold down to get any sort of momentum to move up, and then it's very awkward how I have to do this. To make sure that it's fluid. Okay. Oh yeah. Sorry. Trying to remember when like new vampires come in. Those vampires are just kind of the sewer vampires, or like the homeless vampires. I don't really know. They've got tattered clothes and canes, so it was the closest thing I could think of when I was originally running this game. Sometimes you'll see like Buffy doesn't want to stake them. I don't know why she doesn't want to do her job, but you need to be in like a very nice position for Buffy to be like, yes, now I'll stake. Sometimes they'll get staked in the head, sometimes they'll get staked in the leg, sometimes they'll actually get staked in the heart, what the proper way to be dealt with. I'm just gonna keep making my way through the sewer. If you got anything, go for it.
Okay, so I feel like I'm going to be asking this a lot today. Why did you want to run this?
It's the same answer I had for why I run GBA. I'm a big fan of the series, and I found out that there were games, and I said I want to speed run all of those. so that, you know, I could eventually do like a little, you know, showcase of all the runs. I'm currently 3 out of 5 down. And this one was probably the easiest one to pick up because it's just straightforward movements, trying to get your timing down appropriately. Come here, like that. Sorry, I lost the thought.
All good.
Yeah. So I believe I ended up starting out with Chaos Bleeds because that was just the first one I had on hand, and then I looked at speedrun.com and saw that there were 2 other games, and so I was like, okay, well, let me learn GBC because this one looks pretty simple. Let's figure out this game. Let's see how I can improvement, and because of the little things that I've learned, which is like, you know, flipping them, making sure that they're on a specific end of the screen so that you can move faster, has definitely helped bring the time down. And it's like weird little things that have allowed it to, you know, basically save 4 minutes of time. We're now in the zoo, which is actually a very classic setting for Buffy games. It shows up in at least 2 or 3 of the games. And so we're gonna make our way through here. We're gonna deal with the hyenas. I think they're more so tribesmen, but there's an episode that takes place at the zoo in the first season that involves like Xander taking on the persona of a hyena due to magics. And so I just kind of associate these guys with that episode. And at the end of this one, we're going to have another instance where we have a boss that we're dealing with. So we want to make sure to grab cola. We all know that, you know, familiar red can. So, yeah. Truly do be through the power of Coke that we will prevail and save the world. And these guys all drop in the same fashion, so like learning patterns and like who to deal with, when to deal with them, it's pretty quick to pick up after a little bit. Next is the hyena house. Sometimes they don't want to go down. Like the most optimal way of flipping them, other than just kind of like tossing them to the other end of the screen, is I don't know if I've done it a few times, but like you flip them and you're able to get them to land right in front of you. Also, whenever they down you, what I'm doing to get back up again is I am mashing the A and B buttons to get my shield back. So like Buffy technically has oh my gosh, has 2 health bars. The green one is your shield. If that depletes, you get knocked down, and then the red bar gets depleted, and once the red bar is gone, you're dead. Right, we're on our way to the aquatic house. I believe we have 1 more enemy to deal with before the boss. And the boss is Sasquatch. It's definitely what it looks like, so. Alright, I've got 3 cans because normally this guy's really finicky about this stuff. Boxes, please. I've also got, are the hyenas truly, awesome? They eat Principal Flutie, not Principal Snyder. Like, Snyder's the worst. But he gets eaten by a snake. I've got a lot of useless facts about the show, too. I've seen it way too many times. I think it's like a every other year situation for me. Okay, so now we're in the mansion. And in the mansion, we get to deal with the magicians and more jumping. The magicians are not a good time because they've got these canes that they want to slap you around with. Oh, I also didn't mention it, but the the further you get into the game, the faster the enemy's health regenerates. So it means if I can kick them and they fall flat on their back, I have a very, very limited amount of time to be able to stake them. So I'm trying to get that flip trick off on them instead of having to like rapidly spam and pray. Oh, jeez. They're really not having it today. Like sometimes it's just kind of... What is... please note that, like, if I die in a level, there are passwords to get me back to where I need to go. I did not think to pull that up, so I will do that. Just in case. The game has not been friendly to me today. I did, like, a D-rest earlier this week, and I was, like 2 minutes behind PB, and the enemies have not been wanting to be dealt with appropriately the last few practice runs. Let's go. Thankfully, this is the last time like we have to deal with just magicians, because when we get into level 5, we start seeing a mix of all of the enemies that we've seen throughout the levels. So I'm going to see if he's going to jump over instead of trying to deal with his shenanigans. There we go. Okay, I want him to face me, kick him down, move this way. Okay. Hopefully I get a heart soon because the health is kind of worrying. Slide this way. You'll eventually, like, if anyone was to pick this game up, the obviously, like, the levels also don't really change much either. But it does allow you to know when if you, like, fall down like I did there near those stairs, like, that you could just kind of go all the way to the other side of the screen instead of having to drop down and then go to the other side of the screen. Come on. In space. Which saves like a second or so. Alright. And then you have times where they just decide they're gonna consistently knock you down for no reason. Okay, there we go. Jeez. Here, slip this way. What? I'm gonna take Coca-Cola. I feel like being extra. Honestly, the best part of this game is the MIDI music. While I was waiting in the green room, I just kind of had the menu playing, so I have that stuck in my head right now.
Speaking about Buffy music, how do you feel about hit band Chibo Mato?
I wouldn't know unless you, like, told me the song name.
I think in one of the seasons they have a prom night and they dance to the song Sugar Water.
Oh. I don't dislike them. That's how I feel about them.
Good.
Speaking of music on that show, a lot of the bands that showed up for like the bronze like scenes, which is like the club that they tend to go to, just tended to be like indie bands off the street. Like, hey, you want to do a gig for like cheap? Here, come be our band for the night for a couple scenes. So I think there's like Sarah McLachlan shows up a time or two, but it's like really like very indie bands that show up in that show a lot. Or like they, for a few seasons, they had Seth Green and a band that had him in it, and so they existed for a bit doing music. Probably the most iconic thing about Buffy is probably the theme song, other than, like Sarah Michelle Gellar in the cast. Okay, so Sasquatch is not going to play friendly right now.
What was he doing? He's just like crouching repeatedly?
So what you'll see is if Buffy's crouching, they're gonna do like a bunch of moves to try and cause damage to her. So what he was doing is he was like he was trying to kick and like punch Buffy, and it wasn't working. So if you see them like kind of like dancing is how I see it. It's because they're trying to fisticuff. Okay, there we go. Yeah, now I've got my groove back for this. It's gonna all vanish though in the last few levels because of, if you pay attention, like when I down one of the enemies, their health is coming back real quick. If only I had really good quips when I was throwing items at them. Oh yeah, there's also in level 2 there was that like blue ninja. I call them Power Rangers because man, he is not wanting to stay down. Thank you. You'll see that there's a blue one, a red one, and a green one, and I just call them Power Rangers because they have a color scheme.
Hold on, is Sasquatch meant to be a vampire?
Yeah, everything's a vampire. Everything dies by the stake. If you live by the if you live in the night, you die by the stake, is basically what's happening.
It's like I was thinking like Bigfoot. I thought it was like a wilderness kind of thing.
Yep. Yeah. Buffy's stake is all powerful. You see this guy down by a stake. I think they're all supposed to be vampires of some sort. It's just, it's hard to tell like exactly what it is, right?
Well, more importantly, I suppose in most cases, anything would die getting stabbed in the heart.
It's true. That is true. Very hard blunt force trauma. Well, actually, funny that you say that now that I'm thinking about it. There is an episode where a human being does get stabbed in the chest with a stake and dies. By a Slayer.
I mean, he got stabbed.
Well, and then the Slayers also have like super strength, like they're super powered ladies. So like it's not just like the normal thrusting power, it's like super power thrusting power going through your chest. So yeah, most definitely you're gonna get immediately healed. We will get introduced to a new enemy that I call a Valkyrie. She's not really a Valkyrie, but she's kind of got like a Viking aesthetic. We're gonna use some Coca-Cola against her. All right. So we've got 2 more levels left. We were at the initiative. I didn't think to mention that. So the next place that we're going to go is we are going to go into the deep depths of a cave. And this level gets a little bit wacky. So we will be introduced to, I want to say, 1 new enemy, and I've just dubbed her Cleopatra. This would be her. Cleopatra is the bane of my existence in this run, because she does not like cooperating. Yeah, this is based in season 4. I believe almost all the games, for some weird reason, are based in season 4, except for Chaos Bleeds. Chaos Bleeds is based on an alternate ending to season 5. And a book. So I was having difficulty with this. Like earlier today I was doing a run and my health was at like non-existent and I somehow saved it. This because the air quotes boss fight for this level is Cleopatra and 3 Power Rangers, 1 of each color. Ma'am, please. Ma'am, please. And sometimes, if you've got an item too close to you, Buffy will pick it up instead of staking, which is frustrating. I do love their awful sounding screams that they have. Those are always fun to hear. Just randomly, you'll hear an enemy like cry out in death. Because it's like the 8-bit sound. It's just this very awful Wilhelm scream that's very scratchy. Okay, alright. Magicians with their canes, not a good time. We're gonna have to do this the old way. So the old way of dealing with these guys more like all the time was to knock them down and stake them, but you see that little sliver of health that they have? Well, they get it back almost instantly, so you kind of get into like this loop of having to knock them down and rapidly press A to like try and stake them. Sorry. There we go. Probably messed up my ability. Like I said earlier, like Buffy's really particular about sometimes particular about where she wants to, stake the enemies, and then other times she's like, I don't really know. Okay, there we go. Guy. Just in case. There we go. Oh my gosh. Thank you. Drop all the way down here. I think we've got 2 more screens before the final area. I can never remember. The level 7 always is a blur to me. And normally, like if you walk up to them, like you're, I don't know, what is it, like the JoJo pose or whatever, like just menacingly approach, and you get close enough to like grab. It's kind of, I don't want to call it pixel perfect, but it feels like it's a pixel perfect thing to be able to grab and throw. Because sometimes I'll get it, sometimes I won't. Okay, there we go. There we go. Alright, it's gonna be perfect and smooth for the rest of this run. Right? That's how that works. Gosh. Yeah, this is the last screen before like the bosses happen. Air quotes bosses. Oh my gosh. Nope, that was a lie, chat. Sorry. Okay, here it is. Here's the last one. We got Cleopatra. She's not wanting to go down. Come here. All right. She's down. All right. Blue Power Ranger. Let's go. Oh, he dodged it. I got jebaited, and I'm not okay with that. Down. Okay. So because of the way that like the Power Rangers movement is, they're very erratic, so it's not always like a perfect grab and go situation. Okay, we are on the last level. I'm going to be dealing with 4 enemies and then the devil. So, talking to Dr. Fooley, we're ignoring him and whatever he has to say. We need to pick up this Coca-Cola can. This Coca-Cola can is vital to this last bit of the run, because it is the difference between life and death for this run, for the run. And I'll explain why. It'll probably happen because it's like a 9 times out of 10 thing where I actually get the shot off.
Question, is the devil a vampire?
Yes. Probably. I'm not too sure. Most of my naming conventions for this were just like, this is what this looks like. Like, these guys are just shamans, or cult. They're cultists. Sorry, not shamans. I call them cultists.
Groovy dudes.
Alright, so we're gonna come over here.
Yeah, that is straight up the devil. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no. Okay, so I didn't get the power up off. So we're gonna have to do this the fun way, where we kick and spam. So a little too close. Kick and spam. And time.
You did what? You just straight up won.
Yep. Yeah. It's so. So what I would have wanted to happen for that run, for that ending, is I wanted to be able to get the Coke can to kick the devil. We gotta go to the best part of this run, by the way. It's the congratulations, you saved the world screen. I love it. It's so good. But sorry, going back to that end boss, what would have needed to happen is would have hit him with the Coke can, he would have gotten knocked down, and it would have given me enough time to roll over and immediately stake him. But because it didn't go off appropriately, like I something to do with like the pixels or the frames or in the devil's hitbox, I need to, because his health regenerates so fast, I have to crouch and spam A and B at the same time, because B is going to low kick him and then the A is going to be your stake. So to be able to deal with that fast regen time, you just rapidly spam and pray, compared to the other way, which is a little bit nicer, which is hit with Coke can, hit with the power Coke, stake, and you're done. But yeah, so that was Buffy the Vampire Slayer on the Game Boy Color. I hope everyone enjoyed. It's probably, like I said, the easiest run to learn out of all of the Buffy games. Shout out to the Buffy community again. We are small but mighty. You can find the Discord. If you aren't able to find the Discord appropriately through speedrun.com, always feel free to message me. I've got the link on hand. And we're super helpful, be it whatever Buffy game you want to speedrun. And thanks, Ek, for inviting me on to showcase this run. I love this run. It's so silly, but it's also super cozy.
It was fun. I like that you staked the devil and he was a vampire. But all right, couple things. One, okay, this is just a question I read in chat. It's a good question. Why was there a save code after the last level?
Because so the save code after the last level just brings you to the congratulations cutscene. I don't know why they decided to do that.
Congratulations! Oh, you beat the game.
Yeah. Hold up. Do we have time?
Sure, go for it. Yeah, go for it.
All right, awesome. Let me look up the code real quick.
Hey, you were underestimated. You're good. While you do that as well, if anyone wanted to find you on Twitch, where can they find you?
Anyone can find me on Twitch at Texan_Red_Wolf. You can also find me on X or Twitter. I don't know what it's called nowadays. You can also find me on there with the exact same name, and YouTube as well. I'm back from my mini hiatus due to IRL stuff, so I'll be streaming more often, normally, in the evenings. So, okay, all right, I've got it. All right, so I found the code. All right, let's go. So it's G. H. Okay. Yeah, so the code at the end is just to give you the, the rundown. And there you go. That's what the password at the end of the final level is for, is just so that you can see that sweet ending screen again.
Why?
Game Boy Color games, man. That's all I'm saying.
I suppose. Anyway, I think that's a good note right there. Congratulations, you saved the world.
Yeah.
If anyone did enjoy that run of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, you can check out more of Tex and Red Wolf. The link is in chat. They do a lot of fun stuff, whether it be Buffy or I know they also do Dead Rising games.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, oh, good.
I was gonna say a lot of horror and licensed games.
Yeah. That being said, we do have one more run for you tonight, so don't go anywhere. We will be right back. Alrighty, everyone, we are back from the break. Welcome back. We are going to be bringing you our final game of the night, but I hope that you enjoyed this show. It's always kind of neat just seeing what kind of games go around a lot of major horror themes, because I guess games and movies always tend to be a bit different that way. And, even nowadays, you still get a lot of major releases with these general IPs, which leads us to our next game and the last game of the night. I'm pretty sure everyone knows this one, definitely because of a lot of the buzz online, especially when it came out. And I think recently it ended up getting an update that lets you play it in a different way, which we'll be hearing more about that. Anyway, to close out the night, we're going to be having Resident Evil Village with Big Scared. Take it away.
Hello. My name is Big Scared. I'm a queer variety caster here on Twitch. I play mostly horror games, and tonight I'm going to be showcasing one of my favorite games, Resident Evil Village. I'm joined by one of my close friends, Astrid. Would you like to introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah, I am Astrid the Horror Girl. I love horror games. I play them and speedrun them myself, and I'm a good friend of Big Scared's, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, we got the dream team back from Fatales, if you remember us from there. Tonight, we are once again showing off third-person mode, but I have some new strats and some riskier tricks to show off. So hopefully y'all will enjoy it all the same. Ecdysis did mention this was an update, so it's part of the Winters expansion. If you have that DLC, you do have access to third-person mode. So we'll get that started in 3, 2, 1, let's go.
Gifts we gave, but more you took, she snarled.
So, you might notice that we have a beautiful model of Ethan Winters here. And you might be asking, will we ever see his face? The short answer to that is, unfortunately, not really. We're only going to get glimpses of it throughout the run. But that's less important. The notable thing about this mode and the way that his model interacts with the world is that its hitbox is a slightly different size, and it has slightly different interactables with the environment. So if you're familiar with this game in first person and you want to come over to third person, you're going to notice that you're going to have to aim your camera in very strategic ways. Some of the hitboxes are going to be very difficult to find the first couple times you get them. Particularly in the Moreau segment, which we'll get to later on. Right now, we are simply trying to finish our dinner, which we have. Congratulations, we finished dinner. And in the meantime, a bunch of stuff is happening. Astrid, would you like to detail what's happening right here?
So, one of the nicest, sweetest, kindest characters of all time, Chris Redfield, breaks into your house and murders your wife in cold blood, and then carries your unconscious body into a truck, which you awaken from, turned over on the side of the road.
He's also taken your child to an undisclosed location.
Yeah. Our child Rose is gone, and Ethan's, I think, a little slightly concerned and a little bewildered, I would say. Just feeling minor emotions, of course, but, nothing serious has occurred.
Yeah. He's feeling a normal amount of emotion for a survival horror protagonist with limited dialogue, and I love and respect that about him.
You also mentioned earlier about how the interaction with third person is a little bit different. But you didn't mention the jelly legs.
No. I was saving that for when they make their appearance.
Gotcha.
Another fun fact about this game, and Astrid has alluded to it already with the jelly legs, is that there are additional animations. So you'll spot this very, very clearly when cutscenes are happening, because we'll get this little zoom from third person into first person mode, because the cutscenes are still in first person. But we will also get small and subtle animations throughout the run that are different. So this block animation is slightly different. The walk speed is more variable than first person is. Jelly legs is what I refer to as Ethan's stumble animation, where it looks like he goes completely newborn giraffe mode and just stumbles, and he's completely unwieldy. He doesn't do that at all in first person. There's also some other things where, like, if you get too close to Lady D, like, he'll do a little step back. It's really interesting the way that the devs have revised Ethan as a subject that moves through the environment with this update of the game.
The way that, because this game was intentionally designed to be in first person. And because of that, those interactions when changing the game over to third person, they are not one-to-one. Like Big Scared mentioned about the hitboxes being slightly different. Little variations and changes and different things you have to do with the camera and stuff like that, especially when you're speedrunning. Those nuances also make their ways into character animations. If you've played something like Resident Evil 4 Remake, the Resident Evil 2 Remake, Resident Evil 3 Remake, a lot more care and attention was put into the lower body movement of the protagonists there. But I think this is just a blessing in disguise. We get jelly legs as a result.
Yeah, we get jelly legs, and we also get Ethan's very assertive power walking stance, which we've seen up until this point in the run. Because, fun fact, until we crawl out from under this bookshelf, Ethan doesn't know how to run. He will not let you do it. He will simply walk slightly faster. And so he has this very, like,
what's it all this?
Dad on his way to the store with a 5-pound weight in each hand stance, and then we get to start schmoving here. Now, I do want to point out that I have a fully upgraded Ethan, which means his movement speed is slightly faster than normal. There's also a couple other changes. Most notably, he's a little bit more durable. When he gets hit, he takes less damage and also bounces back faster. I believe there's also accuracy updates through the Duke's menus. It's been a while since I purchased those. But we've got all of them. We've also got fully upgraded weapons, which means we're just going to be Baja blasting our way through this experience.
Yeah.
I hope y'all are ready.
It's very exciting to see. And Big Scared on the way here, like, to being able to do these New Game Plus runs is put in just so many hours, so many playthroughs to unlock all of this stuff. And it not only shows and is reflected in the equipment, but also just the dedication to do that, to even get to a point of running fully upgraded everything is always awesome.
Yeah, and I did not ever plan to speedrun this game, ironically, which is weird considering where I'm at now, right? But my approach when I first got it was to just enjoy it and upgrade things in the order that I got them. And so the equipment that I needed most was some of the stuff that I upgraded last. As a consequence, I run on my 13th playthrough, right? It took me a while to get here because I didn't realize exactly what I would need when I was working through it the first several times. But I also think that's just kind of a fun meme, like, right? Lucky number 13, let's go. I'm gonna get a PB every time. Let's see if we do it again tonight.
That would be cool.
That would be cool.
After...
I did mention that I've been practicing some new strats.
Yeah. It's gonna be awesome to see them, especially when you pull them off first try.
You know, it's gonna be first try every time, I believe.
Absolutely.
One of the first things I'm gonna try that's a little bit different is for the siege level. I'm gonna spend more time than I normally do out here in the open. And I'm just gonna hope, right, that we get what we need from that. Usually I will duck and dodge into buildings. This time when Ethan says there's no end to them, instead of going inside, I'm gonna run way over there to where the swamp area is. And we're gonna let all the enemies funnel towards us.
New strat also because normally this part is so governed by a great deal of just RNG. You really don't know when or how the game is going to determine that this part is going to end finally. So trying out new things to try to get that RNG to behave and go as fast as possible, it's worth experimenting because what are you gonna lose?
Yeah, this segment is semi-timed. It's also semi-progress oriented. And what I mean by that is you need to kill a certain number of enemies to move forward, and you need to do it within a certain window of time. But if you do it too quickly, the game doesn't necessarily let you forward. So we're trying to balance those elements here. Get the kill count high enough that the progress happens. So for example, here we have fire, we've got arrows raining down. Soon we will have a large enemy that will drop down. Once that one is dispatched, it's just a matter of time and whenever the game decides to let me progress. It can be manipulated by ducking inside buildings, but that is, again, much more reliable in first person due to the way that the hitboxes and Ethan's movement works.
Yep, since Ethan has already said there's no end to them line, now it's just a matter of hoping that the game is kind.
Yeah, we're waiting for the big boy to either drop down off the roof or come through this debris. Let's see when he comes. There he is. Oh, we got a cue. This is not the one I wanted, but I'll take it. He's here. All right, and now we go hang out down here. And all the enemies, because they spawn in the village itself, will run towards us. And so this strat actually makes it a little bit easier to keep track of your kill count because they will only come at you from that direction.
Ideally,
the downside is if they don't spawn, it takes longer.
Yep. Ideally, we want the arrow to the knee as opposed to the axe to the back. The arrow to the knee is a little bit faster. The axe to the back is a little bit longer, but you don't know.
Yeah. Besties, where you at? Where you at, besties?
Finally, the villagers have decided, Ethan, let him go. You know?
Right.
He seems a bit angry.
Hello? Okay, we'll go back over here. We've got more spawning. Come on. Besties? Where's my besties? Oh my goodness. Let's do tried and true pop in here for a second.
RNG is just being a little bit rude right now.
We're getting stinked on. There it goes. And onward we can go to the rest of the game.
So now that the big angry RNG moment is over, it's a lot more clear a direction of the run at this point. And at this point of the run, I always like to point out the parallels that this game has with, first of all, Resident Evil 4. It also starts out with that kind of beginning. You're in a village, a mysterious village. What is this place? And onslaught of monsters, just try to survive until suddenly they're not attacking you anymore for some somewhat mysterious reason. And then at that point, you are free to go through the village, which this game is called Resident Evil Village. At that point, the game truly begins. So, with that being said, this game, honestly, throughout the whole thing, you'll see a lot of sort of nods and references and winks to kind of all the Resident Evil games up to this point, and we can point them out when they come up.
I think the only real Resident Evil cliche that is missing from this one is a driving segment. Unless you count the tank, which you don't really get to drive, but I guess piloting it is, right? Like, how are we going to qualify that, right?
It's a shame, I think, that this game didn't end with Ethan and Chris on a jet ski going through some tunnels, definitely.
They could have rode the tank into the sunset.
That would have been beautiful.
The power of friendship, I love it. But right now, we are going to step foot in this beautiful little truck here.
The fire's moving fast.
And then immediately get right back out of the truck.
Don't worry. And try not to breathe in the smoke.
I know. Thank you, Ethan.
She's such a nice NPC. I sure hope nothing bad happens to her immediately.
Oh no, something bad happened to her immediately. Oh no, whatever will we do?
I can't believe that this horror game killed off that NPC so quickly.
She was so kind.
Yeah.
I believed in her. I thought we were going to be friends for the whole run. But here we are, using her screwdriver to get this beast medal. Or demon crest, excuse me. Here I am thinking of Resident Evil 4, right? I'm automatically like, yes, I need the things for Krauser. No, wrong game altogether. We've got our demon crest, we've got our maiden medal, and we're gonna put them in this door.
Yes. Death has visited them all.
You do a very good laugh.
Thank you.
There's our demon, and we can finally, after this, we're that much closer to getting to those vampires to put ourselves on theme for this Speedruns from the Crypt.
Yes, we are gathered here today to appreciate and respect vampires because they are such an important part of what makes horror so interesting and exciting, right? Our very exciting and titular vampire here is Lady Dimitrescu. She is the owner of the castle and the woman talking right now. Welcome. She's going to entertain us for the next 20 or so minutes.
Indeed. But first, Ethan has to do a little bit of a run through Heisenberg's Cave of Horrors real quick.
He's got to get his steps in.
Yeah.
Very nice, Ethan.
So, of course, we've got a chase segment, we've got a big boy to dodge, we got a little bit more chasing, and then we got a very special meat grinder to avoid. We just go hang out in this corner for a second, it's fine.
Gotta keep Donna and Moreau entertained. So now it's time for the beautiful, blood-soaked grand finale.
Nothing like ground beef, isn't it?
Fresh American ground beef.
I knew it. So now that we've done this little detour, we can actually go to the castle. They've distracted us long enough. Ethan has to power walk his way to safety and also potentially saving his child.
Indeed. Now that we can go there, we can see these lovely vampires in Castle Dimitrescu. And the thing about these vampires, they're bugging. I knew that would get you.
I would say they have a chilly disposition.
Ah.
But there are several flavors of vampire in this segment. We have your basic thrall, which we'll get a lot of experience with. We have our minor vampiress, the daughters of Dimitrescu. And then we have the lady herself, which she's a very special woman with very special abilities that we're going to see in a lot of detail very soon. But
Rose
first,
be here.
we need to talk a little bit about Ethan and what makes him so special. The first thing I want to emphasize is if you've played Resident Evil 7, maybe you remember the fact that you can't really skip any of the cutscenes. And maybe you're wondering what's up with the fact that you can skip so many here. I want to point out that there are several cutscenes, this one included, that are unskippable. And they are always cutscenes that demonstrates Ethan's remarkable abilities. Whether it's the ability to take massive damage with limited hindrance to himself, his regeneration, his durability, his ability to fall from great heights. All of the unskippable cutscenes are related to Ethan being unique. So keep an eye on where those pop up and what they're trying to imply by us not being able to skip them. Another thing I want to point out here is that we're going to witness the beautiful jelly leg. Look at it. Oh, decadent, delightful, sumptuous. Savor it. The game will force you to enjoy that every time Ethan feels pain.
Unless, of course, it's just a close-up of something terrible happening to Ethan's hands. Which
Yes,
as
that
you
is the
said,
exception.
a lot of those are unskippable, and they are specifically there to emphasize, as you said, there's something about Ethan who just survives things and gets through things that other people normally could not. And the fact that those are the moments that are unskippable is something I think is pretty cool about this game.
Yeah, it's very neat. Right now, we're taking a ring with an eyeball gemstone on it to take the eyeball and put it in this door. Why? I don't know why. There's probably a reason for it, but we're just gonna give this lady back her eye. Beautiful. I can't believe that nothing bad is gonna happen now. Oh wait.
Let me string you up, slice your jugular,
We are being chased.
and just watch. Taken alive, dead, which would you prefer?
Now, we are here in the belly of the beast. We're gonna start seeing our beautiful vampire friends. I mentioned Lady D. Here she is. Everybody say hi. Isn't she lovely? Wait, no, come back. I want to introduce... Oh.
It is always a shame.
Sorry, I tried.
She gets out of that room so fast.
I hate to see her go, but I love to watch her leave.
We'll see her again. Don't you worry.
Soon. Sooner than you think, even.
Indeed.
But in the meantime, we've got some friends. Would you like to talk for a bit about what makes these vampires unique?
Certainly. First of all, I want to point out they're very scary. They work very differently from like the Three Daughters. When you find out some...
Wow.
Yeah. When you find out some lore about them is basically the daughters were, of course, and this follows very Resident Evil ideas. There was lots of experiments to try to see like who would be more susceptible to, you know, what's gonna make things good. Oh, by the way, that's the end of that boss fight.
Yeah. Put an F in chat for the first daughter. Gone, but not forgotten.
Indeed. The daughters were special. They were the ones that kind of like got through the experiment, and that dungeon is full of the ones that well, didn't. Much like the all the kind of like werewolf-looking figures that were outside. Those ones, there was attempted experimentation, and it just didn't go their way. Also, that was like the first point when I first played this game that it made me uncomfortable. It was like, oh, these dudes are a little creepy.
Yeah. I want to say there's even a tidbit where most of the thralls in the basement are women because of the way that the Dimitrescu house staffs themselves and the specific group of people that they're experimenting on. And so it's interesting to see like the result of the experiment for women being vampirism and the result of the experiment for men being lycanthropy, right? Because vampires are not the only supernatural thing in this game. Spoiler alert, there's werewolves too. There's also a very sad mermaid.
Yes.
And some very creative, we'll call them androids.
Yes.
We'll call them androids. I feel like that's the nice way to refer to them. Cyborgs, Frankenstein's monsters, whatever, all of the cliches are here. They're beautiful. We love them. But I think that's what makes this game really special, is that it's playing with all these motifs just out in the foreground,
Resident Evil Village is not only a nod to all of Resident Evil so far, it is also a nod to horror classics, ideas of where the genre was, how it came to be here, and Ethan is the wonderful, lucky person who is fortunate enough to be able to experience all of those horrors directed toward him and his family.
Yeah, and it's interesting watching his saga play out across his 2 games, because he really endures every horror scenario, right? He survives rural horror, he survives cannibals, he survives murders, he survives kidnapping, he survives supernatural entities. I think the only thing really missing is aliens here.
Resident Evil 9, let's go extraterrestrials.
I mean, yeah, it's not too late. It's not too late. Give it to us. There could be another DLC. I want the UFO cut. All right. So we mentioned Ethan taking massive damage to his hands. This is your warning. We're about to have a prolonged segment with massive damage to his hands. Be warned, it's happening. I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do about it.
What it means to insult risk.
Basically,
ma'am.
She's
very aggressive right now.
Yeah.
She is not happy with me.
It's very unusual for Lady D to move that far forward.
She knows where we are. She knows we're on Speedruns of the Crypt, and we're here to see her, okay?
That's true. That's true.
She knows we're here to see her. And I'm so glad I could showcase that for you. All right, so we have our first key item for this segment. In true Resident Evil fashion, we need key objects to proceed. They are not always physically keys. Sometimes they're as simple as Ethan's hand here. Other times they are progressive items like one of the masks I just picked up. We're gonna need 4 of them for this category because this is a glitchless run. If you are running any percent, you only need to pick up 1 of them. But you also need to grab the iron key, and then you can clip out of the environment and go straight to the boss fight.
Shout out also
We're not going to
to
be doing that here.
Ethan, his shirt also being fixed as well.
Yeah, his magically healing garment. All right, let's see if we get a cooperative piano here.
Speaking of
in true survival horror, we've got piano puzzles.
I was gonna say, shout outs to classic Resident Evil. And all of the Resident Evil protagonists know a different piece of music. Beautiful. All right, another difference here. If you saw my previous run, you'll know that I came back through this room. We're not gonna do that. We're gonna gamble. We're going straight for it.
So we finally.
And it was good to me. Let me in.
Amazing.
Let me in. 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 Thank you.
So you finally.
Here's another one of those real extreme boss
notice
fights.
that I'm
Oh, it's over.
Girl? Hello?
Now it's over. That was interesting.
No, it's not. Where'd she go? Where'd she go?
This is real interesting.
Why did that do that? Where'd she go?
Why? Why would you do this?
There it is.
Why would you do this, girl?
I know it's not really a hotfix thing to say this, but like, yeah, I've never seen that happen before. It's like one of those
I've seen that happen. It's just really rare.
That's fair. That's fair.
So normally, the daughters will go down in one hit. I think what happened is I hit the wrong part of her body. But that's okay. We're still on track, and we are on our way to a puzzle. Who likes puzzles?
I always love puzzles.
I love me a good puzzle.
Listen, if a horror game doesn't have at least 12 puzzles, it's a little disappointing.
My sister had gotten to you first.
The puzzle here is that you need to blow a hole in the wall before you can shoot her. And then you need to grab this for the next room.
Crazy witch.
The reason that Big Scare does that final shot there is because it's slightly faster. If you wait, it'll be fine and boss will go away and you won't have to worry. But if you get that extra shot right on time at the end, it does make things a little bit faster just to kind of finish it off yourself.
All right, let's see if Lady D is gonna cooperate here. Beautiful.
Really good.
Last time I got stuck on her hips, which normally I would not complain about, but in a speedrun, that's not ideal.
It's true. Those hips are bodacious, and they can have a tendency to kind of prevent you from moving through the hallway.
Come on. Are you serious right now? There we go. The chandelier kept swinging just into position, blocking my shot. Which is unfortunate because sometimes when you hit the rocket pistol, it'll detonate at just the right angle where you don't even have to shoot the chandelier. Not only did I have to shoot the chandelier, I accidentally shot the chandelier like 3 extra times because it was swinging at the wrong trajectory. Glitchless gives and it takes away, you know?
Thing about when you're a speedrunner and you're running things, you get into patterns, you get into practicing things, and then there's sort of like this one thing doesn't go quite right. Sometimes it like snowballs into other things that are just, oh, I have to compensate for this.
Yeah.
Speedrunning is tricky.
And the cycle of that puzzle is really precise because as you can see, there's moving parts. And so if you miss the shot in the wall too, that's like a 30-second time loss. Either way, this rooftop is going really well.
That was perfect.
We're about to get our final mask, which means we are rapidly approaching the Lady D boss fight. I know. I feel like we just met her, but it's already time to get ready to say goodbye.
Listen, Lady D will always be in our hearts, no matter what.
That's true. She's also going to be right in front of us here in this hallway. And so, hopefully, if I get a good line on this, we'll schmoove on her. And if I don't, she's going to schmoove on us. And it's going to be great either way.
Stupid man thing! You won't live long!
Bad line. We're going to go this way. I was trying to schmoove on her, but she knew I was coming. She heard me say it out loud.
Yeah. Real quick menuing here to grab the proper masks real quick. I don't know about anybody else who speedruns or you, Big Scared Lion. Sometimes I look at how much menuing is in a run, and I decide whether I want to do the run based on that. Because menuing can really just be a make or break thing for whether or not a run is going to save a lot of time or not a lot of time at all. And a lot of runs that have lots of inventory use, going into the inventory, out of the inventory, using one thing, the other, they get so precise and they get so optimized.
Yeah. The thing about this game is your key inventory will always sort of be in the same, whatever order you pick things up in is the order they'll stay in your inventory. But when it comes to your active inventory, that will be more about you to place. In a New Game Plus run, like the one I'm doing now, your inventory is going to be fixed and you're probably never going to open it. It's much more important on a New Game run. But say, for example, compared to some of the other Resident Evil games I run, like Resident Evil 3 Remake or 2 Remake, you really need to be mindful of those items in your active and passive inventories and where you place them so that way your menuing's even more precise. Resident Evil 8 doesn't necessarily give you that kind of agency over your inventory, right? Like your key items are always going to be in the same exact place. And so that streamlines the process a little bit, but it does make the menuing very precise.
These are great shots that you're doing, by the way.
Thank you. We're gonna go upstairs. Lady D's gonna get the zoomies. She's gonna run around a little bit, and then we are going to just very, very humanely deal with her situation.
Don't be shy.
I don't think there's anything else we can really do other than just give her a little handshake, you know, give her a kiss on the forehead the best way we can, and just salute her. There she goes. We're very shaken up about it, obviously.
Really great boss fight, really great castle segment, and great vampires, all in all.
Yeah, phenomenal vampires.
Looks like I'm getting out of this place.
Onward we go.
Rose.
Now, fun fact, you might think there are no more vampires in this game. That's not true. Even though Lady D and her daughters have been dealt with, there are some optional segments, if you choose to go looking for them, that are absolutely infested with thralls. And so, if you like treasure hunting, and you also like vampires, there is so much more vampire content for you in this game than what's being shown in this speedrun here tonight. But I will say, now that we're out of Lady D's castle, we are onward to the part that I am simultaneously most excited to show you and terrified to show you, because I'm going to show off a skip that I learned today.
Very, very excited to see you put this in motion. I was there watching Big Scared do a lot of practicing for the skip, and Big Scared's got it, so it's fine.
That's very kind of you. I'm still nervous.
You'll do great. You'll do great.
Yeah. For those of you who have seen this run or perhaps seen my runs of this game, you might know that there is a skip known as Baby Skip. I mentioned that you can clip out of the castle. That's not allowed in Glitchless, but Baby Skip is. And it is incredibly hard to do in third person because of the way Ethan's hitbox is set up. And so we're going to be attempting that when we get to House Beneviento here in just a little bit. But before then, we do need to go get a extension for our key here from town. Now, Astrid, while I run around and do this, would you like to talk a little bit about the lovely fellow we just interacted with?
Ah, the Duke.
And what's going on with him? Yes.
Yes. The Duke is a very interesting character in his own right, taking place of kind of like the merchant of Resident Evil 4, continuing that comparison that can be made with Resident Evil 4. Within that, the Duke also makes a little bit of a reference to the merchant himself. What's interesting about the difference kind of between like the merchant and the Duke is the Duke himself seems to know everything about what's going on, is very understanding of what's happening in the village, who is Mother Miranda, who are the lords of this place, and why he's helping out Ethan Winters. Kind of a shady character, but also a helpful character. Even Ethan asks later, like, why are you doing this? Why are you helping me? The answer wasn't exactly like a, a definite, like, clear-cut answer. It's...
Yeah, it boiled down to I felt like it.
Yeah, pretty much.
I love him.
These are like really cool movements that are like going through this section of the game too. Just ladder to rooftop to ladder to rooftop. It's so fascinating just like as playing through the game casually, making these kind of like moves from one place to another. But then doing it and seeing it in a speedrun is like really cool, knowing, okay, on the ground here, crawl under that car, go up on that ladder, onto the roof, drop through the roof, go through that building, go to this other ladder, climb on that roof to get to the other roof. It's really interesting like level design for that part of the game, and I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah, and there's a couple different ways that you can navigate that segment. In a casual playthrough, you unlock several different pathways that will let you go through windows or through alternate doors that you unlock. There is a gate that you can like slash open with a weapon or shoot with a knife that if you're really good with trick shots, you can hit from the opposite side of the fence and advance into that area early. The way that village segment is designed is really cool because simultaneously it gives the player a lot of agency on how they want to tackle it, but it also railroads them just enough that they need certain progress items to enter certain areas of it. I love it. And on my first playthrough, I was so frustrated because I could not find that particular rooftop. Completely forgot they're like, look for the house with the red chimney.
Come with me.
And so
Something I have to tell you.
there's other indicators too. We talk a lot about survival horror, in particular like first-person single-player survival horror experiences using the color yellow to indicate where to go. I think it's interesting that this one doesn't rely exclusively on that. There are objectives that are red. There are objectives that are more neutral toned. Not everything is expressly marked and clear.
This can't be real.
Now on to House Beneviento.
Yes.
Am I losing it?
It's time for gaming.
Really excited, like Big Scared said earlier. New skips. Pretty excited to see them. And like I also said, I saw Big Scared practicing them. Big Scared's got this. It's gonna be so cool for you to show these off. Hell yeah.
I'm hopeful. I'm also gonna try and give us as much of a glimpse of Ethan's face as I can while we have the time here in the elevator. Oh.
Unfortunate.
It's like the game knows. They're like, oh, you're trying to look at him? We're gonna take our lighting away. All right. Let's go. Beneviento is a really cool segment. Thematically, it's exploring a lot of Ethan's interior. It has the manifestation of his fears. It has the manifestation of my fears. It's very much like a haunted house experience. And it comes in a couple different tiers. The first tier is much more like ghost oriented. There's spectral apparitions of our wife Mia, who at this point in the story we're assuming to be dead. There is the baby, which we will meet very soon. And then there are also like different poltergeist activities you can queue and interact with throughout this area. In the second half of this sequence, it is very doll horror. It is very poltergeist still, and it's much more of a game of hide and seek rather than escape this room. So I like this sequence a lot.
I think that it's worth pointing out from like Resident Evil 7 even, a lot of survival horror had changed through the 2010s and such. Getting into this part where they do a kind of like hide and seek moment is super new to Resident Evil, which has had like chase sequences and stuff before, but nothing quite like this. So it was a big surprise to everyone when Resident Evil went for this feeling of atmosphere and horror.
Yeah, I was thrilled that this segment is an escape room. Now, you'll notice that I'm interacting with what is essentially a crash test dummy and or a medical doll, and so I'm not entirely sure which kind it is. But it has several types of interactables on it. It has the winding key, which we just pulled out of the leg. There is a different key in the arm. There's a ring you can pull off of the hand. There's a eyeball that you can look at. And then there's something in the mouth, which we're currently on our way to procure something with which to fish out the thing that is in the dummy's mouth. I know that's a mouthful. I know. But in the meantime, may I interest you in a light puzzle? That's the puzzle.
Good job. The little
Thank
tiny
you.
movements of that and solving a puzzle are like akin to the menuing I spoke to earlier. Just select, drop, always cool to see.
And that one is a little tricky because unless you have a keen eye, you might not notice that the task of that particular puzzle is to line up the scratches on the music box. I know my first try, I was trying really hard to like make a tune out of what I perceived to be like Braille, but that's not the case. You want to line up the scratches, and it'll give you a pair of tweezers that you can use to get this lovely film strip. I hope you like movies. All right, so this puzzle, again, oriented around your daughter, Rosemary. You need to organize the film strip pieces in a particular order. Her favorite thing, her book, a symbol of her parents' dedication, those sorts of things. And it plays this lovely whole movie. Isn't this exciting?
What I always go back to just how influenced this game is by so much different horror. Like this is straight up like, you know, The Ring. And I think that this game just sort of like trying to be as an homage to horror as much as it can, even though sometimes admittedly taking it a little bit too close to similarities to some things. Really just clearly brings Resident Evil to this place of being like such a fun little example of how much horror has influenced Resident Evil as a whole, and Resident Evil kind of sending it back to those origins of like, this is all the stuff that inspired where we are now. It's a cool little thing to think about, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think this game in particular is really playful with its approach. Like, yes, this area was viscerally upsetting for me the first time I went through it, but I think the way that they're embracing all of these little horror tropes is innovative, right? They're not being presented necessarily at face value. We got vampires, but are they vampires? Yes, but also no. We got werewolves, but are they werewolves? Yes, but also no. We get ghosts, but are they ghosts? Yes, but also no. And so we have the presence of all of these hallmarks, right? Of all these horror staples, but they're presented in a way that is a little bit different and I think fresh. Unlike Ethan's blood, of course. It's not very fresh.
There's a lovely, a baby. Nothing quite brings warmth to the family like a baby, you know?
Yeah, we got a fresh new baby. They seem very happy. I can't wait to hold them in my arms. But for now, we are going to simply run away. Now, I mentioned I'm going to be trying new strats here. The first thing I'm going to do is not loop it here. Normally, I would loop it at this table and then run back down the hallway I'm coming in. This time, I'm simply going to go around.
And this timing is very precise. You do not want to have Ethan bump into anything.
Yeah, if you are hung up for longer than a second, the baby will be fast enough to cut you off and she will eat you. So we want to avoid that because if we do get eaten, that invalidates our run. So we're going to avoid that at all costs. We're going to hope that Ethan's Heelys are working properly. We're going to get this child relief and we're going to book it. If we did this properly, the baby will be coming down the hallway just after we are, and she won't be able to grab us off the door. I hear her. I see her. And we're in. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Thank you.
Fantastic. Great job.
All right. Now, I mentioned a skip. Under normal circumstances, in a marathon setting for safety, I would probably come back and hide under this bed. What I did at Flame Fatales. But this time, I'm going to try something a little spicy. We're going to come around the table. We're going to go out the door. We're going to go say hey to baby. And then we're going to schmoove on her. And if we do it right, we're not going to have to hide under the bed. Everybody pray.
Garrett has some precise movements coming up. Well,
Let's go. We got
Great
it.
job. Great job.
So the important thing to do is to face plant. Once you come through that door, if you do not face plant into the wall behind the open door, the baby will not perceive your hitbox as being outside the room, and she will dive on you and devour you.
Yep.
So that was a very good execution there.
It was.
There's a window of maybe 15 frames to get that, and we did.
Yeah, if you don't do, like Big Scared said, the face plant right there, if you turn around too quickly, if you don't quite get into the area where your hitbox is just outside, that's it. That is literally it. And hopefully you could save it by diving under the bed and losing, about a minute of time going under the bed. But otherwise, the alternative is, being eaten. But that was a great move.
There are 3 bad outcomes if you don't nail that skip. The first one is obvious. She eats you. That invalidates your run. You have to start over. The second one is she will turn around and go back up the stairs, which means you have to re-queue the entire sequence, and it's a huge time loss. The third option, which is more ideal, is simply you miss and she chases you very quickly. That one is very stressful, but it's very doable. Luckily, we avoided all the bad outcomes, and we get to just advance into hide and seek with Angie, which is my favorite part of the run. Do you want to talk about why, Astrid?
Yeah, there's, well, first of all, you do a great Angie voice.
Try and find me!
Fucking monster.
The other reason is because there's a little bit of RNG in here. And there's a couple places where Angie can be now. And right now, I'm wondering which one you're going to check first.
I always check this room, and I always start with this one, and she's an ideal spawn.
Excellent.
Okay, this is
Good
great.
RNG.
So the first checkpoint is always this room. There's 2 checks in here. Astrid, where are the other 2?
I don't remember. I'm sorry.
Pop quiz. Pop quiz, I got you. Round 3, you want to check here first because it's ideal. She didn't show up here. She's going to be in front of the elevator. The RNG is most robust for phase 2 because if she doesn't show up in that room, she could still show up in one of these other 2 locations. But if she shows up in that room, she will always show up in one of the last 2 locations for round 3. That was not perfect, Angie, but it was still pretty good.
It was pretty good. Honestly, near perfect house Benviento, so great job.
I still think that's going to be time save for me. Like that baby skip alone might get me a PB here tonight.
Absolutely.
Just because it saves well over a minute that you hide under the bed. So as long as everyone else cooperates, we are in exciting territory, gamers. The issue is things might not cooperate.
Are you trying to tell me that, like, Heisenberg's section might have weird, funky enemies that don't die when they're supposed to?
Oh, imagine a part of the game where there are enemies that are extra robust. And we'll call it the factory, right?
The best part of the game,
specifically,
yes.
Your favorite part. I'm not going to use that word. Best is a strong word, okay? But it is a fun part of the run, especially if you like labyrinths and you like varied enemy design. That one has probably the most varied enemy design.
And we all love
We
labyrinth.
are coming up on, we're coming up on the part with the least variance in enemy design, though. We got a couple zombies to blast through, but then we're heading to the swamp.
Have these little friends popping up to the ground. Just gotta pop them as they come right on up. Could die in one hit. The weird moments when they don't, and they're just like, well, now that I'm not dead, I guess I'll just use my hitbox to block you from going forward. That'd be cool, right? That'd be fun.
Yeah. The peculiar hitboxing is not exclusive to Ethan. It does also apply to the smaller enemies. So as you can see there, I shot, but I didn't actually shoot the zombie. I shot the snow next to the zombie, and it still killed them. That was intentional, by the way, because if you try to aim for that zombie, their arm or their head will be moving so intensely, you're not actually going to hit them. If you shoot the snow just south of its elbow, you'll probably hit it every time.
And that was a real tough enemy that's really hard to beat and is kind of a nuisance. That just died right there.
I believe that's called a Varlock. I might be pronouncing that wrong. But there are several of those enemies in the game, and they're usually like guarding your important, your tools. So, for example, if you're playing this casually for the first time, you're gonna have to fight your way through 2 or 3 of those to get the Magnum. And you're gonna have to fight through 2 or 3 of those to get a piece of really good treasure in late game. So those are really robust enemies. They're known for like protecting areas and trying to detour you as a player from going over there. With the Stake Magnum, it's not even an issue. You shoot them once, maybe twice if it's the Elder one, and then you just sort of go about your business. In the later segment of the game, when we encounter them as Chris, we're just gonna ignore them completely. But for now, we are in mermaid territory. Astrid, would you like to talk about Moreau for a little bit?
Moreau is best boy.
Best boy.
At least wants to be best boy. Moreau is an interesting character for the fact that really wants to prove himself, wants to not be seen as kind of like the odd one out of all the group. Basically, as far as the mutations went for, like, for instance, for Heisenberg or Lady D, their mutations with the experimentation that was done on them by Mother Miranda, they all went well. For Moreau, it really didn't. And Moreau's kind of been seen as like this outcasted individual amongst all of them. Never really given a fair shake as far as he's concerned. And is just trying his best to try to, you know, prove himself to Mother Miranda. And Ethan is the perfect opportunity and chance to try to prove to Mother Miranda that, in truth, Moreau is best boy.
Yeah, he really loves his mom.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, he's adopted, but that doesn't change anything. He loves her so much. He just wants to impress her. And unfortunately, right now, he's just a little guy. There's only so much he can do. He's having a hard time. His stomach is really upset. But we're gonna see very shortly that, you know, when he puts his mind to it, he can do really great things.
Sometimes if you think hard enough and believe and truly put your mutated mind to it, you can be free.
See what you did there? Ethan standing there with his arm up, like, I see you, Moreau.
Yes.
Bestie. So we're gonna skip a moment with Chris. He's in that tent, but unfortunately we are not gonna take any time to say hi to him. Just know that he's there and that he's supporting us on this journey. In the meantime, we've got some engineering to do. I hope everyone's ready to get to work.
This part of the run is always really interesting to me. This is, not only does it feature one of the most, difficult, longest kind of like boss battles in the game, significantly shorter in the speedrun for one, but like the movement through this area has a lot of like, verticality as well as interaction with the environment around it. So watching Big Scared go through this section is always just a treat to me. So going through like the sunken houses, shooting the little pillars and support beams to kind of knock things down, drop things into the ground. Look out for Moreau, who's gonna swoop things up. It makes sense doing it casually, but when you're trying to do it fast, there's just such a little moments of nuanced movement that just means so much more. It's a really cool part of the speedrun, in my opinion.
I love the movement in this section, and I think it's really neat that the challenge presented in Moreau's domain is not one that's combat-oriented necessarily. Like, yes, there is eventually combat, but this is a puzzle section. You have here something that is reminiscent of, dare I say, The Witness, right? It's a lever puzzle that directly impacts the environment. You have to cue different things in different sequence, and there's timing to it.
Yeah, this timing threw me off definitely several times in like my casual play. What's going on? Why do these things keep going down?
Gotta hit white, and then orange, and then blue. Make sure you hit this extra orange here, otherwise you will fall in over here. And we're through.
There you go.
Now, we are gonna get popped up here on hello. And Moreau will tell us exactly how he feels.
Yes. True, Moreau.
Yes, you are, bestie.
You are the best. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
Yes, you are, bestie. I believe in you. You're gonna get me so good.
And then just shove in this cart, and then we can move on past all that water.
Well, not quite. First, we have to, of course, get on a boat.
Ah, yes, the boat.
Because what is a survival horror game without a boat, right?
Have a boat. Bathrooms, barrels, and boats. That's what's in every horror game.
Yes.
Caught myself a big one.
right, let's see if we can get good ladder here. Great ladder. That's a trick shot because you need to hit the side of the ladder at an angle to where you can blow the lock off without putting all of your damage in the wrong place. And I do that without actually aiming. You'll notice that most of my gunplay in this mode is avoiding using the targeted sights. That's because on casual difficulty, Ethan has an auto aim, and it's not always helpful. So it was really helpful during the Dimitrescu daughters fights, right? Because it can just snap to them and hit them wherever. Later on in the game, we're gonna be needing to make precision shots against our, for lack of a better categorization, our eyeball enemies. And when Ethan is allowed to target on his own, he does not aim at the eyeballs, he aims at their feet. So I have trained myself to make most of my shots without aiming. There are some exceptions here, of course, but here it becomes really obvious when I am and am not doing that. Now, of course, we've done all of this mess out here in the swamp to restore power. Because, of course, we need to drain the water. I know, I'm sorry. We have to take away this precious boy's water. And we do that with a puzzle.
Little tic-tac-toe. And it is done. Congratulations, you
Get
win.
a little 3 in a row, and we can do that. Now, you can hear the Duke having a little giggle behind us. That's because, much like the Resident Evil 4 merchant, he will follow us throughout the game and reappear in different sequences. On this run, you don't actually see him again until Heisenberg's factory, and also the very end of the game when we're dealing with the giant chalice. But he will pop up there. I always enjoy him making himself known, even if we're not interacting with him. It's nice to have the company.
Right, so good RNG on this boss fight is, I believe, 4 shots. Bad is 7.
I think was 6.
So not great, but not the worst.
The exit's up ahead.
Yeah.
That fight normally
Mid.
is very long and a little tricky to do and very dangerous, making a bad misstep and not being where you want to be. But luckily, New Game Plus, you just have that rocket pistol and things are fine.
Between the Stake Magnum and the rocket pistol, really, the New Game Plus run is very simple in that respect. Rocket pistol is mostly for traversal and a couple bosses. Stake Magnum will get you through most of everything else. There is one exception here. I'm gonna use one flash grenade when we get to the factory on the Sturm boss. But if you don't have the grenade launcher, the rocket pistol works just fine. You gonna let me look, Ethan? No? Okay. No?
Ethan's a little self-conscious about his face.
He's feeling a little cheeky, even.
So now back into the village for a brief moment before visiting Heisenberg's factory. And we also have some werewolves to deal with as well.
Yeah, we're going to be passing through the werewolf stronghold. And I emphasize the word passing through here. On a casual run, you're probably going to spend some time in the stronghold. You're probably going to get lost. Maybe if you're having a really hard time, you might even fall into the abyss off the railing, because it is one of those areas where you are on rafters and you're traversing an upper walkway. In the run, we're just gonna zip right through it and then just go straight to Heisenberg.
Yep. Just real quick zipping. Also,
now,
real quick, wanted to point out, mentioned in the chat your Ethan outfit that you have on right now.
Yes, I made it myself. Thank you for noticing.
It's pretty cool. I love that you made that, and it's so on theme.
I like to have fun with it. VTubing allows me the opportunity to engage in cosplay at a much more accessible level for a wide variety of reasons. And this is just one of my models. I have one for all of the speedruns that I do. So if you've been around when I run the chant, you'll know that I have a cultist outfit for that. I've got a Jill Valentine. I've got a Claire Redfield. I've got a Clock Tower one. I've got a bunch of them. But I think it's really fun to just build that in a little bit, build my appreciation for the work that the devs are doing, and also show my love for the game on my own terms, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, as Big Scared said, really flying through the section from one lever to the other, and already going through this little first kind of fortress here. Just about waiting for the door to open, though, which is a pain.
Yeah, that's the tricky part. You gonna let me in yet? Not yet. You'll notice I'm not standing directly in front of it, and that's because when you do, you get flanked from both sides, and it's hard to know exactly when it opens up. And so, more recently, I've been trying to stand off to one side or the other, so that way I could have a better field of view on it. And that worked out really well. That allowed us to get in there the moment it was accessible. Now, I mentioned there was an area where you can get yeeted. This is it. Be very careful in here, gamers.
This must be
the lower level is not fun to be on, especially in a casual run, because there's a lot of explosives down there. I'm just gonna clear a path, come up here, clear the path again, and head out.
This is one of those instances where it's like, yes, you want to go quickly, but you also want to go carefully.
And there's an armored enemy up here at the end of the path. Normally, this dude is a roadblock, but we're gonna hit him with the rocket pistol to stun him and just keep walking.
Great job.
Now we've got a mini boss down here. More often than not, your boss fights in this game are gonna be one of your four lords, either Dimitrescu or Beneviento, which was what we fought when we were doing hide and seek with Angie, or Moreau, who we just fought. In here, we have a more powerful version of the werewolf archetype. They're known as Urius. This is not the most powerful one we'll see in the game, but it is slightly more powerful than the one we faced in the siege at the beginning. There is a specific technique I'll be using in here where I'm pacing my shots in a way that is just frequent enough to make him mad enough to come down, but not so frequent that he stays stun locked up there. And I want to make sure that I'm shooting him just enough that he doesn't get the chance to summon his ads. So this might not seem like a particularly complicated fight, and in a casual setting it's not, but it is one of the trickier ones for the run, just of how the cycles work. Nope, nope. He was trying to summon his friends. All right, he's coming down, perfect. We come over here to the door, we block, and we shoot him one time. And that's the boss.
Great job. And
very
really good
effective.
Stopping those enemies from coming. I did a heckin' concern right there.
The second you hear the roar, you know he's back on his business, and he's gonna try and summon friends. So luckily, we've got all of our flasks. I think it's about time we talk about what's in these flasks, because we've been avoiding the topic for long enough.
Yeah, those flasks are pieces and parts of Ethan's daughter, Rose. And at first, you know, it's pretty horrifying to consider that, oh, my baby has been ripped to actual pieces. And the pieces are so separate, they're kept in like different jars and everything. But the Duke has assured Ethan that there is a way to put his daughter back together, alive and well, back to life and everything. So
as if nothing ever happened.
Quoting that something we said about Ethan before. Rose, like Ethan, is special.
The whole Winters family are a peculiar bunch. And this is where we're gonna go full bore into spoilers turf. So if that's something you care about, this is your warning. If you've played Resident Evil 7, you'll probably remember that Mia was very aggressively infected with mold. If you got the good ending, she probably lived for you. Which is how Ethan and Mia were able to have kids, obviously. But the part that's left out here is that Ethan himself was also infected in that incident. And so Rose has a very unique set of abilities that render her essentially the most powerful set of cards in your Yu-Gi-Oh deck. If you can summon Rose Winters to the field, you get an insta-kill on everyone. And that is essentially the play that Heisenberg is trying to make here. We'll see very shortly that Heisenberg is an interesting character because he's not necessarily opposed to Ethan's interests or reassembling Rose. He just has a malicious intention with that he'll talk about in a lot of detail.
What's going on?
Sometimes I just think about how Ethan has seen vampires and werewolves and Moreau, and at that moment the ground shakes a little bit. What's going on? One of the most concerned times he ever sounds.
He barely flinches when the spectral baby is barreling at him. He's like, he groans when he gets hooked by Lady Dimitrescu. He expresses surprise to be being chased, and yet the most emphatic concern we get out of him is a mild earthquake.
Yes. Now he's experienced it all.
Right? Like, I guess if you're so entrenched in the context of survival horror, it's the natural stuff that's actually going to unsettle you, right? Given everything he's been through, yeah, an earthquake is probably the least known contender that he has.
Ethan Winters.
And then there's also the question of what's shaking the earth, right? Which is a question we will absolutely get the answer to as we progress here.
I like you.
Oh, I like you
I'd
too.
like to speak to you about Rose and Miranda. Oh, come on in. Don't worry.
Now we're going to have a nice, friendly, and reasonable discussion with Heisenberg, who basically says that, unlike the other lords, actually not thrilled with Mother Miranda at all. And that conversation does not go well. As now, basically, Ethan is running for his life from a character design that a lot of people thought was a little bit too similar to one in Frankenstein's army.
I like to call him Propellerman Jones, but that's not his actual name. That's Sturm. Sturm is the apex of creation as dictated by Heisenberg, one of his ultimate experiments. But Sturm is only one of the many types of experiments down here. You want to talk a little bit about what else we'll see?
Absolutely. Basically, you'll see throughout this just the perfect blend of man and machine. A bunch of experimented on individuals that have, if you've ever seen Star Trek The Next Generation or Voyager, you may be familiar with the Borg. This is almost Resident Evil's take on the Borg. This kind of idea of biomechanical humanoids that have implants and instead of arms, they have like just saw blades, things that are entirely designed to be warriors, soldiers, because that's exactly what they are. Heisenberg is
his metal army.
Heisenberg is making an army and invited Ethan to join in the rise of his army to defeat Mother Miranda. However, that would also involve almost certainly destroying Rose, so Ethan had to be out, and therefore, so is Heisenberg. leading to what Ethan is doing now, being trapped in this factory where a bunch of these mutated soldiers are produced who are all trying to stop Ethan from seeing his daughter again.
We got another one here, a slightly more robust version of that enemy with a giant drill for an arm.
Yeah. Just, you know, casual experiments to do with your friends.
But that's the single drill friend. We're gonna have a friend later on with multiple drills. I know. How could we ever live in a world with multiple drills? I didn't see it either. I didn't see it coming.
Some of these enemies are tougher to defeat than others, but they all have something very familiar to the Resident Evil franchise, which is that they have little weak spots, little, like, you may be familiar with Resident Evil 2, the big old eyeballs that grew on everything. This has something similar. Little kind of, but mechanical eyeballs that are kind of put on things. And even in the machinery itself, as going through this level would normally show, you would shoot all these to kind of make sure that your navigation is safe. But if you're really fast, like Big Scared, you don't have to worry about that. You just go, you know?
Yeah, it's really interesting how they're playing with that motif of like the weak point boss in the structure of the building itself. It's not just this gear segment, but it's also the doors. You don't need keys to traverse Heisenberg's factory. You simply need to pop all the eyes in a, not in a literal way, but in a figurative way. You need to press all the buttons. You need to just check all the boxes and it'll let you through. I think that's really neat. I think it's a nice play on the formula that they've set up as a franchise, right? Because we come to expect that from Resident Evil to a degree. They're really known for the eyeball bosses. And yet, we only really get Heisenberg as our confrontation. But then it's embedded into his area as well. It's embedded into his minor enemies. We have an eyeball in the middle of this dude's chest. Look. Right there.
Yeah, well, it's once again just moments like that this is not only an homage to horror, but also to Resident Evil, and taking in a whole bunch of ideas and concepts that were done in multiple games, done again in this with different versions of those concepts. It's artistically such a cool game to compare and contrast with all the other games in the franchise.
Because there's something you can find in common with all of them. Yes, even Zero.
I love Resident Evil.
I love Resident Evil Zero. It's one of the underdogs of the franchise. But I think that this one really builds on the, not just like what we think of as the Resident Evil canon, but like the extended lore as well. In a really interesting way. We mentioned earlier experimentation. Miranda's experimentation was mostly biomedical. She had access to the Mutamycete, which is the mold. You're familiar with it from 7. But she also had access to these parasitic creatures known as Cadeau. I think that's how it's said. And that's what she's infected the Lords with. They are not unlike a Plaga, but they're not exactly the same. Whereas Plaga is more of a mind control parasite, the Cadeau is more of a transformative one. And so when we're thinking about the types of infections you can procure in Resident Evil, the Cadeau is probably one of the better ones you can get, right? Because yes, you will transform. Yes, you will leave the incident viscerally and profoundly changed, but you will still have a degree of autonomy that others do not. I cannot say the same about those infected by the Mutamycete, right?
No, the ones with the Mutamycete, much like Las Plagas, is sort of like, as they say in Resident Evil 4, and as is expanded on in, I think they just call it Plagas 2 in Resident Evil 5.
The Ouroboros.
Yes. The whole idea of like there is a dominant and there's a submissive kind of version of them, one controls the other kind of thing. That is very much here too. This game literally employs concepts from the original series of Resident Evil, like the first game, and then also with 4 and 5, with their ideas of Las Plagas and control, and kind of the idea of that Wesker also is real enthusiastic about the concept of control over kind of, well, for Wesker, his ambition was the entire world. But through that, through all of those concepts of Resident Evil so far, it's not only shown in Resident Evil Village, but to me,
let's go.
Really great step. That dude sometimes jumps way too early and stops you from going up.
I've been knocked off that ladder so many times.
Great job, Big Scared.
Please continue.
This is a game that also takes it all back to the beginning, which I'll touch on a little bit later.
Yeah. It's very exciting how this game simultaneously builds off of everything and also, in a way, rewrites it. Because if you understand the origin of the franchise and have not played this game, I'm sorry, you don't understand the origin of the franchise. They've changed it.
What Big Scare just did right there is there's a timing. Oh, jelly legs.
Look at him go!
There's a little timing thing that you want to do when the fan is pulling you forward, because you want to fall as close to the fan as you can without getting shredded up. So you don't want to do it immediately. You want to do it as close as you can so that you have as little distance to traverse, because as you saw with the jelly legs, you're moving slower than you normally would.
Yeah. That stumble animation adds a good 5 or 6 seconds, depending on where in that hallway you land. So the closer you get to the gear when you drop, particularly in third person, saves so much time. It's an easy time save. I really recommend that you challenge yourself if you're nervous about doing that. And here, of course, Heisenberg is detailing his brilliant plan of telling us the one thing we need to not hear in order to get him to ally with us. It's very smart of him to do this.
Take Rose? I'd like to see you try.
And so, of course, we have to fight him now.
Yep.
We can't just hold his hand, which is the ending I was hoping for, honestly.
It would be a nice ending.
We can't make peace with Carl. We have to fight him. And he's gonna be doing this in the most dramatic way possible. But before we can do that, we have to make one more item to progress, and that is a key. I, to this day, am still fascinated by the fact that Ethan Winters can touch molten metal that has just been poured without expressing so much as a sigh of pain.
Just a special guy.
But I guess his hands have been through enough that he might not feel it anymore, you know?
That's true. Once your hands have been cut off multiple times and put back together with the magical power of Mountain Dew adhesive, you just don't have to worry so much about something like molten metal touching your fingers. Not at all.
Hey, don't smack me. That's rude.
Being very rude.
That's rude. His friend in here. Oh, don't touch me. Don't touch me. I'm busy.
Good maneuvering.
I'm busy.
Good. Wait.
Let me in. I'm busy.
That was good movement through there, Big Scared.
Thank you. Now, those two enemies are alive because I did not shoot them upstairs with my Magnum earlier. I merely stunned them with the rocket pistol, which is the trade-off you get by using it as a traversal item instead of a combat weapon. The damage output of Ethan's kit is really interesting to me because the Stake Magnum is by far the most powerful weapon in the game. It has a damage output of 2,500. I'm not entirely sure what that means, like if that's health point or if it's just pure damage output in a vacuum. But the next most powerful weapon is the rocket pistol, and it only does 500. When we're thinking about Chris's weapons, his most powerful weapon only does 250 damage. So this Stake Magnum that I'm using here is the most effective at like producing high damage output in very precise shots. That being said, if you're more of a spray and pray gamer, I very much recommend the assault rifle. It's very useful in the siege segment at the start of the game because it allows you to get your kills up quickly, and it has a 250 DPS at the start, and so the frequency of the bullets do add up, especially if you're really precise. It's just not my preferred weapon. It is a viable one though, so I think that's worth pointing out.
You really are.
Here's where I'm gonna equip the grenade launcher for my one flashbang of the game. It's for Sturm. He's gonna pop out here. Say hi. He went the way I wanted. I'm gonna shoot him twice in the butt, and that's the fight.
Yep.
Goodbye, Sturm.
2 rockets to the butt, and the greatest creation of Heisenberg is gone. Simultaneously,
Isn't
the
he
best
powerful?
creation and the worst creation. There's moments where Heisenberg is just like, this is my magnum opus, and then it does something bad, and it's like, you're always been a disappointment. You've always been a failure.
I love Sturm because he's intimidating, but in the chase sequence with him, like if you turn around and look back, he's doing the slowest like single step, single step, single step. And so he's just a little guy doing his best.
Again?
There's Jelly
Ethan,
Legs.
please. Okay, so the cutscene we just skipped is an important one because that's where Heisenberg really flies off the deep end. Unfortunately, he's embraced the life of being a transformer, and the only way we can take him down is to fight that brawn with brawn of our own. Luckily, Chris Redfield has assembled us this very fancy tank that is definitely not made of metal, because if it were made of metal, Heisenberg could control it, right? So this is definitely limited metal parts here with our saw and our massive gun and our golf cart, and we're just gonna fight him mano a mano.
Here we go.
I hope you're excited. On Village of Shadows, this is the hardest boss because you cannot upgrade this tank. You have to fight at the same level of combat that you bring to any difficulty level. So you're more vulnerable in this scene than you would be normally because the tank has health, and you also are not as strong as you would be because the tank Gatling gun is what it is. But we're just gonna, you know, deal with his eyeballs as fast as we can, and hopefully we'll get a quick cycle. I am having fun. Thank you for asking.
You're doing great.
Oh, he's doing his little thing. Look at him go.
There it goes.
Look at him go. What a cutie.
He's having so much fun, but the fight is not going his way.
No.
It's very important.
This is an interesting fight because normally when I hit him with rockets, he gets knocked back. But because I'm hitting him with rockets at the same time that he's hitting me with his chainsaw, he's got iframes. But it doesn't matter because we still got the quick cycle, and he's in his favorite spot. So we're gonna progress quickly here.
Mm-hmm. Great job.
All right,
Wonderful.
now we've lost our tank privileges. We've done too good with them, and now Heisenberg wants to fight us fairly.
Fairly is a certain word.
Yeah, he wants it to be a fair fight. He's got 2 saws. I've got a magnum, okay? And he's dead.
Great job. Great job. Magnum kill. Right after he swore to murder that boulder punching idiot, Chris Redfield.
Yeah, I'm gonna send him out like a Fortnite player.
Perfect.
And off we go.
Perfect teabag to save, I'm sure, some frames, yes.
Yes, we're saving the frames with those. Now we get a fantastical exit to the only enemy in this game that was not entirely a bad person. I love Carl because he's a complex character. He's a victim in his own right. He just doesn't express himself in a healthy way. Unfortunately, it doesn't get him very far. And we have to say goodbye to him here. But that does mean that we get to say hi to Chris. Astrid, would you like to explain why we're going to say hi to Chris here in a second?
Absolutely. So, in a stunning turn of events, Ethan has been brutally murdered by Mother Miranda. Right, that's it. We did all of that. Ethan dead. And we're done. We're done with Ethan now. We can finally move on to who we've always wanted to follow in this game.
Yeah.
Chris Redfield.
Yeah,
so,
the poster boy of the game, finally in action.
Really, I know that everyone's been like, why have we been following Ethan? Who cares? So don't worry, we finally got to it. The real start of the game. I know we started the clock a little bit early, but we're finally here. Chris Redfield, everyone.
Chris Redfield. Watch out for bioweapons. I wonder where they're going to be. Oh, look, here they are.
Yep.
Now, unlike Ethan, Chris snaps headshots. So if you move really quickly and you don't get too close like I did just there, he will snap headshots for you. And it's brilliant. I love him. He tries so hard, and he does very well. Now, the downside of playing as Chris is that you do not get unlimited grenades in the same way that you would as Ethan, right? Because Ethan has a grenade launcher. Chris has throwables. And so you'll notice that I'm stopping to pick up a couple throwables at different equipment posts. I stopped right there at a green box to get one. These are the Varlacs that I'm just ignoring because Chris runs faster than them and it doesn't matter. We're gonna skip this supply pickup and go straight through here.
Roger.
Tundra here. Leaving some supplies in one of the houses, Captain.
Summarize, I need some backup.
All right, get off of me, bestie. I have grenades to throw.
There's a lot of...
1.
Great job.
2.
Working so well.
3.
Good job.
Don't touch me. Oh, we got the hit. It's fine. We'll just keep pushing through. The second we get here, we get sucked into the cutscene, and those enemies no longer matter.
Good movement and good grenade throws. This part's real tricky because anything that ever interrupts this laser stops the whole thing. So you have to be concerned about making sure that you are basically stopping the enemies from getting you. But you also, you know, it's speed running. We're trying to move fast. So you want to stop them. You want to kill them. You want to stop the wave that's going to hit you and then get the laser out. And the game will work very difficult to make sure that you cannot go as fast as you would like with that laser. So...
yeah. There is a risky laser for the 3rd cycle. It's not this one, it's the next one. I see you. Okay, now we can laser. Oh, that dude. I'm glad you stopped running.
Great
Perfect.
job.
So this 3rd laser is tricky because there are 3 armored enemies that are gonna pop up here. They're gonna do their best to body block me so that way I can't get back out of this Friendston area easily. What I want to do is keep this crowd managed long enough that I can, hopefully, walk forward on the next laser segment. And Chris snaps so many headshots that we're gonna be able to get out.
Great job. Here's a laser. Still moving because you don't want the arrow to hit you. Oh, that was close.
Thank you, iFrame.
Incredible. That was real close.
Thank you. We almost got knocked off of that. All right, I mentioned there was one more Urias enemy. He's down here. This one is known as Strayer. He's different because he has a big mace. You see that? Unfortunately, that is not strong enough to damage Chris Redfield. He's gonna block it one-handed. Watch. Too powerful.
That's just when you can punch boulders, you can block maces with your hand.
So my goal here is to peg Strayer with as many grenades as I can to make him take a knee early. When he does, I'm gonna hit him with my assault rifle as many times as I can, and I'm gonna hope that I get a quick cycle and don't have to use the laser. Because if we're forced to use the laser, we have to sit through extra animation of him falling down, getting back up, and then dying, when he can just simply die. All right, this is gonna be a quick cycle because he's taking a knee again.
Great job.
And he's dead.
Great job. That's another one of those instances in this game. You get it, you save so much time. You miss it, you lose so much.
I'll keep going.
That one's really important to understand exactly how long his stun phase is when you hit him with the grenades. Because if you throw the grenades too quickly, he will still be stunned from the previous one and won't take damage.
We can figure that out later. Focus on the plan.
Always with the nose to the grindstone, focus on the plan. Chris Redfield.
Right now, the plan is that Chris threw a literal combat knife with a grenade taped to it with one strip of tape into that chunk of mold. That singular grenade has enough firepower to detonate the entire region. It's a nuclear blast. We're gonna have to run from it later. But he could just throw it with one arm and it sticks. It's fine. He's so powerful.
Listen, if Colonel Volgin had this kind of technology in Metal Gear Solid 3, it makes sense back in the 1960s that this would happen now. Oh, by the way, I tricked all of you. Ethan's fine.
Yeah, he's fine. He's just having a little nap. But he is still technically dead.
Yes.
Astrobot's not wrong. She was just doing a little bamboozle on you. The fun fact here that you might not realize is that Ethan has been dead the entire time we've known him. He died in Louisiana the moment Jack Baker punched him in the face and said, "Welcome to the family." And so really, he's been the zombie all along. He has. Our hero is the zombie. And I think that's a brilliant twist.
It is a really, really cool moment because remember how much this game has been focusing on, look at what Ethan can survive. Look at how the injuries that he goes through. He falls all this distance and he's fine. His hand is cut off and he just reattaches it. All that kind of stuff, it meant something. And that's why none of those cutscenes, those specific cutscenes, were skippable, because those are the ones that matter, that indicate to you, look at what Ethan can do.
You fulfilled your purpose.
All right, here's Miranda. She's beautiful. She's gonna go through several forms as we do damage to her. If we do this correctly, she will go into the kill cycle immediately rather than any of her other phases, which she did. Time is gonna come up very soon. So we are in an auto scroller here where we have to keep her off of us and minimize the amount of damage she does to us. Time will be when we hit the cutscenes at the end of this fight.
Got this.
And time?
Great job, Big Scared.
Let's see. I'm excited to see what our time is.
I think that might be it.
That is a whopping PB of 2 minutes, gamers.
Hey, big congratulations.
And that's the power of baby skip. Thank you.
Absolutely. It's always nice to get a PB, especially on any Hotfix or GDQ kind of things.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have done that here. Thank you so much for having me, Agdices.
Absolutely. Really quick, do you have any shout outs you want to give at all? And as well, if anyone wanted to find you, where can they find you?
Yeah, you could find me on Twitch as Big Scared, spelled exactly how it sounds, the word big and the word scared with no spaces or punctuation. You can find me in other places on the internet at that username or as I'm Big Scared. Again, no punctuation, no spaces. The word I'm Big Scared. I want to thank a few folks. First of all, I want to thank the Clock Tower stream team, my stream team that I'm part of, for encouraging me to become more involved in speedrunning, and they really got me into it. So I appreciate them, and I want to thank them. I want to thank the Fatales community and Lady Arcaders for also really helping me get involved and pushing me to showcase my runs more often. I want to thank my friend Astrid for joining me again for this bonkers run. I really appreciate you taking the time to support me, and I think you're great. Where can we find you?
I think that you're great. I'm Astra the Horror Girl. You can find me on Twitch as Astra the Horror Girl. And that's pretty much what I do. I play horror games and I like to do them fast as well.
And if you're curious where you might see me next, I am actually putting together a speedrun marathon with my stream team called Clock Tower Time Tick. Submissions end on Friday, so stay tuned.
All right. Thank you for doing the run. And more importantly, congratulations on a new PV. It's always nice to get, especially, I do not skip Cammy pretty lethal, so good job there.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. That being said, that about wraps up our show for the night. I hope you all enjoyed it. It was fun looking at a world of horror that we really haven't explored on the show so far. There's a lot of vampire games out there. Maybe we'll see more as we keep going. Anyway, we'll be back in about 2 weeks with more Speedruns from the Crypt. I once again have been your host, Icdices, and as well, in addition to that, not only will I be seeing you in 2 weeks, I'll also be potentially seeing you this weekend, since I will be hosting the Latin American Hotfix on the 16th and the 17th, Saturday, Sunday. So, in addition to that, make sure you tune in tomorrow for the first step, followed by As Seen on TV, all starting at 7 p.m. Eastern. Anyway, we're going to be hopping off, so I hope you have a good rest of the day and or night, and see you next time.